Welcome everyone to Comics from the Multiverse, episode 354. I am Peter, and joining me as always is Matt.
Hey, what's up?
And Connor is back 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, fourth time in 6 weeks. It's like I'm here permanently.
Don't tempt fate.
Hey.
Yeah, don't
It
threaten
could
us.
happen again soon.
Mm-hmm.
This is a DC Comics podcast. We get together and we talk about the books we read this week. Coming up on this week's show, we have Detective Comics 1071, Action Comics 1054, Green Arrow issue 1, Unstoppable Doom Patrol issue 2, and Matt also read Blue Beetle Graduation Day issue 6. Which is kind of weird actually that that's like done months before the movie comes out. You think maybe the movie got pushed and it was meant to coincide, but
Well, they wanted to come out with the trade.
oh yeah, okay, yeah,
Or that too.
Plus a couple of Patreon books from Connor. Since he's here, he has to get them in when he's on the show.
He's gonna call his shots.
Yeah, we got Tim Drake Robin issue 7 and Undiscovered Country issue 24. So that's what's coming up on the show. There's a little teensy weensy bit of news, but that is basically it. It is it's still a quieter week, I would say. We only really have one busy week a month right now. I'm sure that's changing over the next couple of months, but
Which week is that?
week three. Last week was the busiest week of the month.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really? It didn't feel like crazy.
It wasn't crazy, but it's notably the weeks
It's
1 and
been-
2 are like 3 comics each. It's weeks
Oh,
1 and 2 are
I don't
pretty
know.
quiet. So, but hey, we got a new issue 1 this week. We'll get into that later, and talk about all the DC things. So, welcome to the show, everyone.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Yes. Thank you for welcoming everyone.
Oh, I wasn't welcoming you.
Oh, you paused long enough.
Never welcome you.
It was a little bit awkward, so
I was
I didn't
going,
know what to do.
I was going for an awkward comedy beat, but
Yep.
either it didn't translate or I'm just working with people who just do not understand the language of comedy.
I'm gonna go with it was just awkward.
Yeah. Are we sure that you don't know comedy?
Ludicrous. How dare you? I have been commended by many. I've won awards.
Name one award you have won.
For comedy.
Yeah, yes. In the field.
It's like perfect attendance. Ding.
In the field? I was presented in a field.
I've had an award presented in a field once.
Since Matt's not watched The Last of Us, you not heard the what award did the Scarecrow get?
Nope.
He was outstanding in his field.
That's
Well,
a good joke.
it's a dumb pun. I thought of it because we're talking about fields and awards. Anyway, yes, there's always time for a ComiXology top 10, everyone. That's what we're starting with.
I'm not rushing through this week because there's no Knights games because the Knights already won their series.
That would be a disservice to our audience anyway, Matt, to rush through because of your stupid, petty little childish sports game.
I wasn't petty and childish last week when I was having a heart attack because we're in double overtime. So,
That was rough.
yeah.
Okay, self-inflicted medical problems sports.
That's
then
true.
What do you want?
That's true. It sucks. I hate carrying this much.
Anyway, yeah, so we're going to look at Tuesday's books as of right now on ComiXology. Then we'll have a look at Wednesdays as well, just to see how the rest of the industry is doing as well. So, what do you think number one's DC book is from Tuesday as of right now on ComiXology? Any guesses?
Connor, do you want to go first?
Was it somehow Batman?
Tech hasn't been selling great.
No. Batman.
That's
Just
literally Batman.
Batman just always sells.
I feel like he's made this joke every ComiXology top 10.
He does.
I do, yeah.
So,
And I'm the one who's accused of not knowing humor.
Oh, no. I know it's a funny, but one
I
day it'll be
didn't
right.
accuse, I intimated. There's a slight difference.
I mean, it's rule of threes for a reason. He's on number, 354 minus however many episodes he's not been here.
One day it'll be right. 2, doesn't matter how many times he said it, it was always funny when Alan Davis guessed Blue Whale.
That's a reference that I get, but like maybe 1% of the audience might get.
Yeah, well, they should educate themselves. But I mean, and by watching
It's a QI thing, right?
Yeah, they will
QI.
actually educate themselves.
It's QI. Anywho, no. Number 1.
Green Arrow.
It is Green Arrow. Green Arrow is number 1 this week. Number 2 is Action Comics. Number 3 is Detective Comics. Number 4 is Lazarus Planet, Revenge of the Gods.
Oh yeah, that's the whole thing.
Although interestingly, it's worded weirdly here. It says Lazarus Planet 4, Revenge of the Gods, which is just awkward. I don't know. It's not technically not correct, but I see the words are all there. They're just in a slightly
on League of Comic Geeks it's listed as Lazarus Planet: Revenge of the Gods number 4. So
Number 5 is Unstoppable Doom Patrol issue 2. Number 6 is Tim Drake Robin issue 8. Number 7 is The Riddler Year 1 issue 4. Number 8 is Blue Beetle Graduation Day. Number 9 is DC Ruby. You know, there's not a lot of books out this week when DC Ruby's cracking the top 10. Number 10 is Harley Quinn 29. But just again, digitally that book does not sell well. It's weird. So
free falling.
Yeah. Yeah, Detective Comics definitely is. Obviously, it's still relatively high this week because there wasn't a lot of books, but I mean, we can talk about that when we're talking about the issue later, as to why maybe it isn't doing amazingly numbers-wise. But that is the top 10 for DC. Looking at Wednesday, which brings in the rest of the industry. Any guesses?
I'm seeing which Sins of Sinister book came out this week. See how far down it goes.
How many episodes has this tactic worked? Because this Sins of Sinister thing's been going on for so long now.
I know, a lot. I'm going to get Sins of Sinister Dominion number 1.
That is correct. Sins of Sinister Dominion is number 1. Number 2 is Daredevil issue 10 by Chip Zdarsky. How many times is that renumbered? Because like, there's no way we're only 10 issues in the issue.
Yeah, no, this is I think the 3rd time because it renumbered when there was a new Daredevil, and then when she was done being Daredevil, it went back. So this is at least the 3rd.
It's not even got a different. It's not even Daredevil Man with No Fear issue 10. It's just the same title as before. It's so annoying.
They're just playing with the volume numbers, I'm sure.
Number 3 is Invincible Iron Man issue 5. Number 4 is Doctor Strange issue 2. Number 5 is Star Wars Darth Vader Black, White, and Red, I think. Yeah.
They're copying the DC with those.
Aye. How dare they?
They did with, I think they did with Deadpool as well.
Marvel filth. How dare you copy DC Comics? We all know Darkseid was before Thanos, you hacks.
True.
What's Connor doing?
Thanos only exists because Starlin was a fan of
I am
Kirby.
changing my headphones because they're dying and I forgot to charge them. I'm so sorry.
Shambles.
Yeah, well, that's decided now.
He really is the Jerry of this podcast.
It's done now.
Way to go, Terry.
Way to go, Gary.
They're called rappers, Jerry. That's one of my favorite responses.
Yes, for those of you not getting this reference, this is all Parks and Recreation jokes that are flying right now. But yes, number 6 is Thor issue 33. Number 7 is Betsy Braddock, Captain Britain. Do you know, Captain Britain's such a lame character. You know, I've never read a single Captain Britain thing, but as someone who is in the UK, nothing makes me cringe more than the name Captain Britain.
I mean, I guess it's better and more inclusive than Captain England, right?
Yeah, but I wouldn't like a character named Captain Scotland either. I think it was lame.
No, that's true. I always like the idea that, like, there was Union Jack, right? Like, that's a proper superhero name.
I'm just,
you know,
I'm not into. It's the same with, with wrestlers. I hate when wrestlers just build their identity on their nationality.
I mean, do you think Captain America is silly?
I think if that fit for the 40s, right? Like,
Yeah, like at face value, I do think it's silly, but it's just that he gets so much like effort put into him by a lot of good writers and stuff that he's kind of overcome it just by sheer brute force. But I mean, yeah, at face value, I think it's a stupid name.
Fair enough.
But I mean, so is Mr. Fantastic, right? Like these are all names that they're.
I mean, Mr.
inherently
Fantastic
silly.
though is at least is like a smug thing. Like I can sort of get why some asshole would think that's a good name for himself.
And then
He
his
is a
best
smug
friend gets and then he names his best friend the Thing. Like, you know what? It does check out. And Glenn Howerton should play Reed Richards. That makes sense.
Again, I could be
That's a
Mr.
very
Fantastic,
Dennis.
and Connor can simply be the Thing,
Hey, I'll take it.
which I guess makes Matsu Storm.
Wait. No.
What?
I don't want to be married to you. I'll take Mole Man if that's the case.
I love how you not even said Human Torch as a more viable option.
fine.
The obvious hothead.
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
Yes. My joke was that I was intentionally going for the non-obvious one, and then Matt, for some reason, is just ignoring Human Torch.
No, well, okay.
All right. Number 8 is Hulk issue 14. Number 9 is The Ambassadors issue 3. That's a Mark Miller book. And then number 10 is Alien issue 1 of 6. So there's a new Alien series by Declan Shelvey. And I don't want to say that name. It'll get me into trouble.
Oh, you gotta see what it is now.
The artist
Yeah,
name.
me too.
Let's just say it's a name that sounds like a bad word for a lesbian.
Oh, didn't we have this exact person last week?
We did, yes. It was in the
Alright, so that's not the
last week, I
one.
think.
That's not the one on League of Comic Geeks. League of Comic Geeks
No?
is Andrea Brocardo.
Oh, fair enough. For someone else.
Declan Shelvey's pretty good.
Yeah. I mean,
The
obviously,
cover looks super cool.
I
so,
love the Alien, obviously, franchise, but you know, maybe I'll check this out because
Well, I mean, it wasn't. You didn't love it enough to go read the Philip Kennedy Johnson book, did you?
yeah, but that was the art though. It was like one
Yeah.
look at the art, and I didn't want to read it
I tried so hard with it being on Unlimited.
because I've
just-
enjoyed many an Alien comic before. Which, by the way, Fede Alvarez is making the next movie. We posted a teaser for Alien Day this week. Pretty nifty.
That's exciting.
Into it. Yeah, because we did Alien Resurrection on the Ace this week because we've been doing an Alien movie every Alien Day since we started the show. So you know, this was our 4th one, so we did Alien Resurrection. So we got 2 left,
Oh no.
and then we'll just have to do random other Alien things that aren't related
Yeah.
to the franchise. I don't know.
There's plenty of them.
Yeah. But Prometheus next year. Hey.
Ooh.
Really looking forward to Covenant the year after.
I do still need to watch Prey, to be fair.
Oh, Prey's good though. Prey is.
Yeah, no, it actually looked good,
Yeah.
unlike everything else.
Yeah. I actually probably won't wait 2 years for Covenant because I think we'll probably have to do Covenant before the new one comes out, assuming that hits before Alien Day 2025.
Is that
Yeah.
the Japan one? Like Prey, but Japan?
No. Covenant. He's talking about Alien Covenant.
Alien Covenant. Yeah.
Oh, I thought wrong about Predator stuff. I missed.
Yeah.
No,
Is that is coming at some point, right?
It's not an official thing yet, no.
Oh, is it not? Oh, okay.
There was a lot of fan speculation and stuff, but
Mhm.
there's no.
Yeah, I saw a lot of talk about it, so I just assumed.
No, nothing official for another Predator yet. But hopefully we get something at some point. But,
Yeah. I mean, Prey was very well received.
Yeah.
So
yeah, there's an Alien show in the works as well, from Noah Hawley, plus the Fede Alvarez movie.
Oh, I forgot about that show. That's been going for a while now.
It's because he's finishing Fargo season 5 before he works on it.
Mhm.
Yeah, that
So-
sounds right.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, it's ComiXology top 10. And your Alien talk because Alien is great and any excuse really. Not that I really want to talk about some of the later movies that much, but still worth bringing up. Yeah. So there's a little bit of news. One thing specific to comics, and then one thing sort of more extended media. So there's a couple of books announced this week. For Donna DC, we're still using that kind of line for all the new books that are coming out this year. So So first up, we have a Power Girl book, which obviously is spinning out of the
Power Girl special.
the special, but also the backup that we've just had in action as well. So
different artists though too. So maybe people
also maybe
try to warm back up.
Maybe I hate it instantly.
That's a shame.
Writer Leah Williams with artist Eduardo Pansica will be doing that.
That's a lot less exciting. Like Pansica's fine. It's not bad, but it's not the same as was it Savage before, where it was like it's all like very stylized. And Pansica's just like okay, it's another house style book.
Yeah, the Savage stuff gives it a more dreamlike kind of vibe, which helps with the story they're telling. But
I just think it stood out, and I think again, like Pansica's fine, but it's very much it's another house style book, which is just always less exciting than having someone a bit more unique, even if it's not someone that you really like that much. Because I don't think Pete would say it's objectively bad, just not his taste.
Yeah, but I may actually read this, so I mean, for me, it's just subjectively a better choice.
But it's a more boring choice.
Yeah, but boring, but palpable.
I mean, I like Pansica, so I've never been disappointed by Pansica.
I would rather there be a book that was, a bit more unique, that it doesn't hit for absolutely everyone, than here's another middle of the road. Just it's going to look the same as every other book.
In general, I agree with that, but it's kind of you put me into a weird position when arguing this when it's a book that doesn't work for me. Like, would I rather have a book that? I mean, not that I'm that fussed. Like, I like if I don't want to read this, it's fine. Like, other people can have it. But if we're talking about specifically getting me interested in reading it, then, yeah, like Pansica's a better choice. But I mean, I agree with the sentiment in general, though.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I'm just happy this is getting an ongoing.
I thought it was weird after the backups that it was just getting just a one shot and that was it. So surprised. I don't know if they've come back to it after hearing some of the reception, maybe, and they're like, oh yeah, maybe there is enough interest for it.
I'm sure Williams wrote it with Savage in mind, and then maybe Savage couldn't make it work because of the ongoing, so that's why. But I mean, you feel like the one shot's gonna wrap up the Johnny Sorrow stuff, so and then we'll jump on to more Power Girl, as the main character more, so because it feels like it's gonna be a little bit different, judging from what they're saying here. So, but I'm excited nonetheless. So,
yeah, the other book is A Fire and Ice: Welcome to Smallville by Joanne Stader and artist Natasha Bustos. So, the two eponymous heroines find themselves forced to lay low in Superman's hometown after a disastrous incident in Baltimore puts them under intense scrutiny, to the point where they are even considering calling Icy's ex-boyfriend Guy Gardner for help. Interesting. I wonder, do you think these two have had a bit more popularity because of the Human Target book?
I would think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was my first thought.
I think there's obviously there's a certain audience that have been a fan in general, kind of probably since the JLI days.
Yeah.
And anyone who's kind of gone back and read that run typically likes them as characters, but they've never been particularly prominent, and it seems weird otherwise that right after they were just in the spotlight in a book that was read by quite a lot of people and pretty well received, then they suddenly get a book. I think that's too much of a coincidence otherwise.
Yeah, well, and considering that Ice has been dead for a while, right, comes back to prominence, but like the last time I remember reading Fire and anything before was in Checkmate, where she was an agent for them. So, it's been a while.
The Bendis stuff recently?
No.
Oh, going back to like Rucka.
Going back to the Rucka Checkmate. So,
okay, yeah.
But yeah, so it would be, weird if it was just by itself. But we'll see what Starrer does, though, too, because Tom King writing these two characters might be a completely different vibe than what's here. But it sounds fun. I mean, them hiding out in Smallville.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with either of the team, but
me neither.
I'm open to trying that book.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with them either, the team, but I am intrigued enough with these characters. Like, I mean, this is the thing. Like, for me, having not read JLI, I I don't really know if I care much about Fire as of yet, because she was obviously less featured than Human Target, but Ice definitely I'm more invested in as a character just because that made her very interesting to me.
Yeah, and I mean, even if you don't know much about them, just the idea of Fire and Ice being such good friends, right? Like, you know, how their whole powers don't complement each other. There's that whole dynamic there too. One's the hothead, one's the more, you know, reserved, if they're going off of that. So
yeah, it does say at the bottom of this article that DC have not specified if either are ongoings or limited series. They both feel like limited series to me, but
I wonder if these are, like some other recent books, limited until proven otherwise.
Like Poison Ivy, right?
Innocent until proven guilty. Yeah.
Which I don't think it's a terrible model. I mean, even
that's not bad. No,
even like the Swamp Thing that we had before from
wasn't Green Arrow supposed to be a mini?
Yes, that was a 6-issue mini when it was announced, and now I'm pretty sure it's an ongoing just because of orders on the first couple issues.
Yeah, because I was talking to my comic shop owner, and he goes, "Oh, this is an ongoing? I thought it was a mini." I go, "Yeah, I thought it was a mini too." He goes, "This doesn't say one of on the cover."
I think it's fine to a point. My only concern is that I would want like the creators to have a solid plan for either eventuality.
From my understanding, they mostly pitch it as, here's the 6-issue plan, and if it goes well, here is my plan for more. And kind of DC kind of have that under consideration when they're looking at the sales.
I guess the question is, and it probably varies from example to example, is like, what does that end up feeling like? Like some of them I could see feeling more like, oh, this is a good 6-issue story that's more like, say, I'll compare it to a movie that might get a sequel where you don't really feel that bad if it doesn't get one. You may have wanted one, but it's not a big deal. But then sometimes it might feel more like, oh, this was season 1 of a TV show that was clearly had more planned that they'll never get to do because, it just didn't work out. So, I mean, obviously the former is always better than the latter, just because if it doesn't go through, obviously if it gets to keep going, then the latter can be great.
What are the ones we've had so far? Obviously, Poison Ivy, I would say, definitely felt like, hey, no, that could have been 6 issues.
Yep.
But I'm glad it's not.
Swamp Thing, I would actually argue the opposite. I think if it didn't get those last 6, it was still great, but I think those last 6 made it. Like they made it.
The last 6 are why you read the first 10.
Yeah.
Right. So,
I do want to look because I feel like he probably knew early enough that he just moved his ending later, right? Because where it ended at the end, the end of that last 6.
I mean, it gets the back half of that. It gets a lot more introspective and heady. It gets pretty introspective and heady through those first 10. But when we're talking about
and I'm not arguing against this model. Like I think there's a lot of potential with it, and it gives books a chance. I'm just looking at the pratfalls of when it doesn't work out, but the book was good just because it wasn't selling well, or whatever.
100% Green Arrow doesn't have a plan past issue 6.
Oh, maybe past issue 4, but more on that later.
Williamson.
But yeah, I mean, I don't want to get ahead of stuff. I know there wasn't a lot of news, but the Tom King tweet about his Nightwing plan, right?
Oh, sure, yeah, we can talk about this. Yeah, his original plan when Dick got shot was obviously different from what ended up
his pitch, not plan, because plan implies it was in motion.
Right, his pitch.
The pitch is that Dick would only be out for like 6 to maybe 12 issues tops, and that Tim Drake would become Nightwing in the meantime.
And they would bond and over, Tim helping Dick get back up on his feet and recover.
Honestly, is a showpiece to sort of elevate Tim a little bit and give him the spotlight and sort of have them be more like brothers for a while. Didn't sound that bad.
I kind of hate it as a Tim fan, because I think that's the opposite of what Tim should never be stepping into Dick's shoes as a Robin. He spent his entire time as Robin being like, I'm not that guy. I'm not that Robin. I'm not Dick.
And I understand where you come from, because as a Tim guy as well. However, I can see what King would do with that conflict of him not wanting to.
I can defend this easily. For me, the whole point is that it's not something he wants to do, but he will take the burden in the same way that Dick didn't really want to become Batman, but he took that burden as well. I think Tim, knowing that it's not permanent as well, would take the role for a time because he feels like he should, not because it's something that he sees as his end goal.
I think 2 things. One, I was just about to compare it to the Dick taking the cowl, and that makes us feel even more redundant because kind of already did. It's the exact same story beats. It's the exact same character beats, just on Tim instead of Dick, which again is something I hate. Let's just take Dick's stories and give it to Tim. So kind of hate it for that.
Yeah, but is this worse than Rick Grayson?
No.
Well, good
No,
then.
of course it's
I'm
not.
glad
But
we're on the
that
same page.
doesn't make it good.
But so I'm just wondering about if this style that we were just talking about with the Fire and Ice book was around when the other guy was in charge, how different things would be, right? Because like maybe the whole Rick Grayson thing gets thrown out there in a mini or something, and we keep the Nightwing book going with this Tim story. I don't know.
No, that's the thing, because Ben Percy replied to that tweet saying because he was writing Nightwing at the time when he left, and he basically just left DC when he left Nightwing. That was it. That was him gone.
He said, "I went another way."
But so it sounds like the plans that were imposed upon him with Dick are kind of what made him want to leave. At least partially, maybe not the whole sole reason, but certainly.
No. Well, and now he gets to write an actual Wolfman and Wolverine. So
he would not be the only writer to have had problems with high up editorial in DC at that time to leave the company entirely for years.
Right.
Yeah, and obviously he can come back. Obviously, he's got a lot of books at Marvel right now, so he's busy. But in the same way that Mark Waid, all of a sudden the door was open again once a certain Didio-headed monster left the scene.
Exactly.
So, but I just think that we're only talking about how many years ago at this point? Four.
It was pre-pandemic, right? So it's got to be 4.
So like, just thinking that, and then how they're doing things now.
I'm just marveling at how much time has passed since we started the show.
Yeah,
I know.
No, I mean, someone said something to me the other day. I went, 3 years ago during pandemic. I was like, oh my god, that was already 3 years ago.
Just stop. Yeah.
When I was looking for news in Newsarama, there was a thing saying on the 10th anniversary of Iron Man 3. I was like, 10th anniversary of Iron Man 3.
That hurts.
3.
Oh, do you know what? No, I remember going to. I was in college. I distinctly remember going into the cinema with a friend and being like, even if the movie's shit, there'll probably be some nice AC/DC to listen to. And then there wasn't even one.
Yeah, but the movie
for the record, it was the best of all the Iron Man
movies. Yeah, it's the best Iron Man
movie,
but
like by far.
Yeah.
But it was the way I was so confident walking in.
Which I know is not a popular opinion. There's going to be people listening to this going, "Are you crazy?" No, Iron Man 3 is better than 1 and 2 easily. It's not even a competition.
Yeah.
Even I, who hate that reveal and hate what the story does at the end in the last act, the first 2 acts are better than anything in either Iron Man.
I still don't love the movie in the same way that I don't really care for any of the Marvel movies in general. But
Connor, I think they're all kind of shit, but this one's less shit than the rest of them.
Well, basically. Hey, that's basically what I just said about Tom King's pitch. It's like, hey, it's still shit. It's less shit than Rick Grayson, but it's still shit. I mean, and that's how I feel about Iron Man 3.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously after that was Shane Blackman did The Nice Guys, which is fantastic. So.
Oh yeah.
That's,
and everyone should watch that movie if they haven't.
Yes.
And then
he was talking to the mermaids.
And then somehow he did The Predator, which was
let's not talk about it, because that was also one of the background talent.
It's a whale thing. So, yeah. Anywho, so that's Power Girl, Fire and Ice, and sorry, Power Girl, and also Fire and Ice.
Right, which the Fire and Ice book will start as a backup in the special. So, if you're interested in that, make sure you check the Power Girl.
In the Power Girl special?
And in the one-shot special, there's a backup teasing the other book.
Okay.
So these two
which
are
will be like
linked.
a 0.
Yeah. So that's all fine and well. These are both hitting September 5th, so these will both be week 1 books in September. So.
Good.
Hey, you were saying you wanted more books on weeks 1 and 2.
That's true.
And they're female-led, female-written books too, right?
Which is also nice. Right? I will say, just keep in mind, September I think is the second half of all the Night Terrors bullshit. So
so depending on how the first half goes, you might not be reading anything.
No, it may be a really quiet month if we really hit the first half of Night Terrors.
This is where Pete goes, "What have I been reading? Let's get into the apps."
So there you go. That's your comics news. But there is a little bit of DC TV related news this week. So we already knew about part of this, which was that Prime had picked up 2 seasons of Batman: The Caped Crusader. This is the animated series show produced by Reeves and Abrams and all that, and it's got Tim on board and
Brubaker's on the writing staff.
Yeah. So very excited for that. But there was also like an extra thing they've ordered this week. So they've ordered a movie which is also going to spin out into another animated series. Right?
Okay.
So it's an animated movie called Merry Little Batman.
I'm in.
So, Merry Little Batman. The project will be a holiday movie revolving around a young Damian Wayne, Bruce Wayne's son, and one of the Robins in the comics. I mean, obviously, this is all nothing to us. We all know this, but alone in the Wayne Manor on Christmas Eve, he becomes Little Batman to protect his home and Gotham from supervillains and criminals alike who have designs on the holidays. Regular shows, Mike Roth directs, while Teen Titans Goes, Morgan Evans has written the screenplay, Roth and Register executive produce. So we're getting basically Damian does Home Alone in the Wayne Manor when he was.
I was hoping it was going to be Damian versus Santa.
That's the animated show.
Yeah.
See, I don't obviously care about Christmas movies, but I am all for actually taking, Batman and other characters and actually, making kids animated shows.
Oh, sure.
Because obviously, the Cape Crusader is very much an adult animation.
They ask for adults, yeah.
So I'm all for them kind of having, hey, let's do one for each audience.
And there is a screenshot of this movie with the article, which definitely gives you a kid-friendly art style. Damian looks like Dennis the Menace or some shit. So
I assume you mean UK Dennis the Menace as well.
Probably. I'm not familiar with the US Dennis the Menace.
Oh, that's why I instantly pictured.
So the show that'll spin out of this is called Bat Family, and that'll follow on for the film and focus on Batman, Alfred, and Damian. So now officially referred to as Little Batman. So Damian's not Robin in this; he's Little Batman.
I love it.
They, alongside intriguingly referenced few newcomers to Wayne Manor, will navigate the fun and frustrations of life as a super family. In the series, both Register and Jace Ricci will executive produce. So you're getting a new, very kid-friendly, Damian-focused animated movie then show.
Do you guys remember that issue of, I think it was Batman and Robin, it was right around the time Damian died, and it had like a young Damian wearing the full-size cowl.
Look, Mommy, I'm the Bat.
Yeah, that's what I'm picturing as this entire show, and I'm there for it.
I mean,
I just saw what the animation looks like, and I don't know if I'm a fan that much.
Alfred looks like a ball sack that's seen better days. But it's definitely
maybe it looks better in motion.
It's definitely got a style.
Yeah.
Bruce has got a hefty. Well, I think that's Bruce with the beard, but I don't know who else it would be.
And a little-esque chin.
He's answering the bat phone.
So. Yeah.
Oh, Lumberjack Bruce.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But yeah.
Yes. Actually,
this looks stupid and I love it.
Now that I've said Alpha's Cabalsack, I've just noticed his nose being very long, and now it's just adding to the image.
There you go.
Old man genitals. All right. So some animated projects. So yeah, again, Prime's for some reason swooping in and doing all the DC animated stuff now. I
wonder if this is part of. So obviously Max didn't want this in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
The kids one especially, I can see. They're aiming at adults. They don't want to dilute their brand, so to speak. They can't give it to like competitors like Disney Plus, for example, because they're too much of a direct competitor. Whereas Amazon do all sorts, and they're a bit more neutral comparatively.
That would be funny though, if like the new kids Batman show was on Disney Plus.
It wouldn't be out of place on there though.
And alternatively, they could do like the new gritty R-rated like Punisher movies on Max. just start swapping all the R-rated stuff and go to Max, all the kiddie stuff and go over to Disney Plus. Just swap.
Honestly, we're starting to see streaming services actually sell their content to other places.
Oh yeah, en masse. Like everyone's doing it now, pretty much.
I don't think it's actually that much of a stretch anymore to think that we could get the stupid gritty Punisher version on.
Do you know, I'm going to say something here, and I'll say this about very few subjects when it comes to Zaslav, but there's a quote this week, I think from CinemaCon or somewhere else, where he said, "We don't believe in direct-to-streaming movies," and honestly, given the quality of 99% of direct-to-streaming movies, I'm like, you know what? Yeah, treat your movies like they're prestigious.
It's not just him this week. There was someone at Paramount. There was someone at Universal. All of them are kind of making similar comments of, yeah, we tried it. It didn't really work out. I think one of them said, "Oh, you can't make movie stars on a streaming service, only in the cinema."
That's the thing there. That movie came out in Apple this past week or so. The Chris Evans and Ana de Armas movie. And it again, much like a lot of these movies, it looks like the most bland, just generic movie. It's got a couple of relative stars in it, but it just looks like a nothing movie.
I watched that one scene of them on the Exorcist stairs, and I swear it looks like they weren't even on set together. Like the way it's shot, like it's constantly one back and forth.
My wife is the biggest Chris Evans fan I've ever met, and we still have not watched this, so it keeps getting pushed. So,
I get an advert for it every time I try and watch Ted Lasso. I'm like, I don't ever want to watch this movie.
Honestly, it's like there's such a streaming. It's very different to the old days where you had direct video in the 90s, right? That had a feel to it, but this is very different. Where I think of this movie, I think of like Red Notice with The Rock. I think of I can't even remember the names, but all these like Netflix original movies or original movies that go to all these various places, like they all have this just very kind of sterile, like safe thing.
They feel disposable.
Yeah, what was that action movie that came out on Netflix like a year or two ago?
Extraction.
No, it's not that one. It's the one with
Hems?
The one with who was in it? It was like a team of guys. Was Ben Affleck in it? Maybe Ben Affleck was in it.
Oh, with Poe Dameron too. It was like it was the heist.
Yeah, there was. I don't know, but they all.
I watched it and I don't remember.
No, I feel like I watched that movie. No, Oscar Isaac in a heist. That sounds familiar.
But the fact that we can't, between the three of us,
right? There's everything's so disposable right now, and then
Triple Frontier. That's like Oscar Isaac and Charlie Hunnam.
Yep.
Right. So, and the ones that do end up being better are ones that weren't designed. Like Prey was great, but Prey was originally designed. It was shot as if it was going to be a theatrical movie.
One of the only ones that I'm aware of that I don't think had any designs for a wide theatrical release was Coda from Apple.
Yeah.
Obviously, they released it,
for considerations.
Yeah. They did its very limited release just so it could be eligible.
I mean, there's no reason why a movie made for a streaming service, because there's no reason, because a lot of because let's look at, say, horror movies, right?
Yeah,
horror movies typically can be made for quite cheap. There's no reason why a horror movie on a budget that can go straight to streaming should be feel any different from one that goes to theaters. But somehow they all just like pivot into this like safe, bland mold. It's weird.
It is weird.
Well, I think it happens a lot with action movies too, because I feel like those might be more expensive to produce.
Yeah, so but like horror movies are, as far as movies go, they're about as cheap as it gets, right?
Well, so like when I'm in a mood and I want to watch a horror movie and I'm going to look for stuff that I haven't seen that's like deep holes, the stuff that Tim and Pete, will talk about. There's just so much horror, that's getting produced, and a lot of it's not probably worth a watch,
No, but there's a high volume and then there's a good core of stuff that is worth watching.
Right, and you start looking for the names that you can trust, and
I'd say even if only 1% of it's good, because there's so much of it.
Right,
there's still enough.
But you start to look at all this Netflix, Amazon, all that type of actiony stuff. Like Triple Frontier and Red Notice, and it all just feels very much the same and disposable. And it's like, well, we already watched that.
I know I watched Triple Frontier. I don't remember it being bad. I don't really remember much of it at all. I remember it being fine at the time.
I love Oscar Isaac. I watched it and I forgot that it even existed.
And literally until you started talking about this, I would never ever have gone, yes, I've seen this movie.
Yeah.
It's just what came to mind. It was like I remember it being advertised a lot for like a week, and then it goes away, and that's it. It's just gone.
Well, and I feel like that's a lot right now, and that's just the zeitgeist and where we are, and why I like I know you. I don't know about Connor. I know like Pete's not a big fan of the Star Wars stuff on Disney Plus, but it keeps people talking for 7 weeks.
It's why when something is good now, like you do want to champion it and sort of like say, no, this actually does hold your interest. It's memorable.
Watch Andor, folks.
Or even Last of Us, right?
Yeah,
I still haven't watched it, but people were talking about it for weeks on end, and when it ended, people
had opinions. They had something, even if it was a bad opinion at the end, they had something to say about it.
Right. So and I like that versus when you drop something all at once and then it just goes out the window.
What was the last Marvel show on Disney Plus? Because I don't remember seeing much about any of them recently.
Was Miss Marvel before She-Hulk?
Yeah, Miss Marvel was. I still haven't seen Miss Marvel.
There's been nothing since She-Hulk. I feel that was a while ago now.
That's what I was just thinking. I was like, I don't know if I've just not heard anything in a while, or if they're slowing down.
I think
they're slowing down.
Well, I think Feige did say we've been pumping out too much stuff. We're going to try and bring the quality up and quantity down.
Yeah, please.
Which is good. That's a good mantra to have. Yes. We'll see if it bears fruit. But
yeah, I mean, that said, I enjoyed She-Hulk, but that's because it was so different, and it was this half-hour show that did leave me wanting more when it was over, versus just something that I felt like I had to watch because it's part of the next thing. So if they do slow down, let them take chances with something like She-Hulk.
The thing is that a lot of what we're talking about here, it just feels like content. They want more content. Mm-hmm. Here's some content. Watch the content. Engage with the content. Have some more content. Like that's
right.
But actually, while we're on streaming stuff, this is just tangentially related, but I've got nowhere else to talk about this, and I want to bring it up. So, right. So you remember the Zack Snyder movie, Army of the Dead? The zombie.
I try not to because I still haven't seen it. And
the Netflix one,
yeah.
Yep.
Right. So. It's not very good, right? I mean,
shocking.
I'm not talking about the quality of the movie, though, here. This is the thing. So when I watched this movie, whatever I did...
Probably like 2 years ago now.
There was a thing that was bugging me. I thought my TV was broke, right? Or not broke, but I thought I had a dead pixel. I thought I had a dead pixel because there was this... Every so often, that I'd see like a... just that red or whatever color you get when you've got a dead pixel in the middle of the screen. And it was really bugging me. But when I turned it to other things, it went away. It's like, okay, well, whatever. Maybe it's just, Netflix is glitching. Who cares, right? No big deal. I handle it for one thing. I saw an article this week talking about it. Zack Snyder filmed the movie with a camera that had a dead pixel, so it's not just like a one-time glitch. Like, if you watch Army of the Dead, not every shot, but every shot from this one particular camera has a dead pixel in the exact same spot.
And he never noticed?
I don't know. Like, I think there's conflicting reports if he decided not to care, or if no one knew, or whatever it was. But
how?
I like. Okay, he prides himself on being a very visual guy, right? That's like his thing. It's his style. So he should be noticing things like that.
But here's the thing. I get when you're doing a movie and you're directing, and there's a lot going on, but like. How does no one on the special effects side, editing, any of the visual side, not catch that?
Well, it's too late by that point.
Yeah, you've shot. Like, I think at best you would be like, okay, you do some test shoots and it's test shoots. Next stage is you shoot a day with the camera and you look at the dailies and someone notices it and says, hey, we have to,
I think
swap the lens or something.
You say it gets to like VFX and color grading and stuff. Do you say it was red? This dead pixel, or is it just?
I mean, I'm just going from memory. I want to say it
because that's what I mean. So so it's not like when you've got a dead pixel on your screen where it's just your light is bleeding through. If it's a dead pixel on the image, it's a set color, right? Because it's what's in there.
Mm-hmm.
Could they not essentially just chroma key it out, like this one particular shade?
That's my point. Is like from what I understand in production and stuff. There's people that handle that kind of stuff that's part of their job is in quality control.
Oh, and actually, on this, I don't know if it was the camera itself or the lens that had the dead pixel. It may have been the lens rather than the.
Okay, but either way, once it gets to post, like, okay, it's this one. It'll be a consistent effect the entire way through because it's. Yeah. Could you not? Yeah, that's bizarre.
It's because he shot it with like a fancy 8K.
Yeah,
of course he did.
Because it was an interesting thing. Because you know how he did his Justice League cuts in 4:3 because he wanted to use the full height of the IMAX ratio and all that shit. IMAX specifically tell filmmakers that we present things natively in that aspect ratio. The screens in the IMAX are so big that they recommend not putting any important detail at the top or the bottom because you only sort of see it in your periphery, up or down. Because it's the whole idea is that it completely goes outside your vision range, right? To make you feel like you're in the image.
It's a good job it never really released in an IMAX theater, isn't it?
So he's using the full height of the. That's why movies that get shot in IMAX, or have scenes that are in IMAX shape, can be easily cropped for regular theaters
Right.
or TV screens because they're kind of shot with all the important stuff is still framed in the
Right.
normal.
It's kind of no different to like old school, like, you know, I say old school, like relatively, by today's sense, old school shooting, where the changeover between 4:3 and 16:9 was happening on TV. And okay, they were shooting TV in 16:9, but hey, there's a lot of people still watching on 4:3, so we'll make sure that this is really safe to work around.
Yeah. But that was only a transitionary thing for a little bit because obviously it was always going to get to a point where everyone was.
Yeah, but I wonder if it's kind of the same kind of vibe behind the camera of them working, to those scenarios. Just, hey, okay, this is gonna work great in this specific moment, but long term, let's plan it out.
Yeah.
Unless you're Zack Snyder and just do whatever the hell you want.
It does make me wonder though if like the top and the bottom are just periphery. I'm just thinking of all the FX like artists working on like Avatar or something like that, and be like all the effort get into all this CG
and you're like,
at the top and the bottom.
Why are we doing this?
Yeah. Well, with Cameron, it's one of those things where he hypes them up and was like, "Look, it's very important for the quality of this film that this gets all done."
More importantly, I hope he bloody pays him well with the amount his films make.
I'm sure he does. The movie, But I'm pretty sure, Carter, you once said to me you didn't expect Avatar 2 to cross $1 billion, and
I did not.
Here we are, 2.3 something billion later.
No, I stand corrected. Even now I am shocked that it. I was convinced it was. I was that big 3D boom. It was. That's what drove it.
You do not bet against James Cameron.
I don't know. I don't know anyone who actually cared to go and see this movie, but it made the money somehow. I'm not sure they were all real people in those seats. But
Cameron's developing digital people to see his movies.
He's paying for himself just to prove a point.
Here's the thing: the people I do know that did see it, they just love that world. Like there's something about Pandora and the Na'vi and the natural world. Like
I'm happy for him. I'm just
me too.
It's so wild to me.
So good. I know. I like to bring up that dead pixel thing because I don't know where else I was going to vent about it.
Who would have guessed the guy that didn't care enough about the DCU to get it right would have a dead pixel in his Netflix film?
Yeah, but the one thing he usually cares about, like Connor said, is the visuals. So it's weird that there's like a weird technical fault.
Also, they had to delete an actor from that movie and shoot it with a completely different actor.
Yeah, that's not his fault, though. That's...
No. So I'm sure he had other things.
Sure, yeah.
Not to defend him that much. I'm sure he had other things going on.
Yeah, I didn't know that when I watched it, and then was told afterwards that Tig Notaro got added in to replace someone else problematic, and I went, almost makes me want to watch the movie again and just sort of see if I can tell how tacked on she is. But
not enough to actually want to watch it again.
No, of course not.
I mean, look, I love Batista. I'll watch most movies he's in. I watched My Spy, right?
You might be the only person in the world who can say that.
Yeah, right. I ain't watching that one, Army of the Dead. No, thank you, sir. I think I watched My Spy. Yeah.
I remember getting trailers for that.
Mm-hmm.
Did you watch The Chaperone, Matt, when it came out?
No, but I don't like Triple H.
Okay.
Seeing that?
Yeah, that's...
Yeah.
I didn't even mention who was in it, and you just said Triple H. Of course he's in it. Why else would you think of him?
Yeah, well, I thought maybe Batista was in it, and I missed that.
No. I was just bringing up another wrestler-led movie that was about a kid.
Yeah,
no. You'd
no.
also seen that.
Yeah, no Chaperone, but I just know that it's a joke. People bring up to Hunter.
Or Tooth Fairy. Is that one of Rock's? Tooth Fairy?
Yeah, I did. I saw that.
Of course.
I didn't see it in theaters. I saw the game plan in theaters, but yeah. I also went and saw Escape to Witch Mountain because of The Rock, so I kind of learned to stop doing this.
Yeah, I won't. Also, like, what's the other stupid Rock? It's one of the ones
Rampage?
That was based on Rampage. You like that for some reason.
No, I did not like it. I like the ending, but
because there's an ape in
it. Exactly. I want to get a fist bump from a gorilla.
He's a simple man to please. Let's just leave it at that. Well, let's talk about comics then, shall we?
Mm-hmm.
Detective Comics 1071 with a Ram V rating, and there was a lot of artists, so I didn't write them down. We'll just look. I'll tell you them in a second when I see the page. So there's at least 3 artists on the main story. Yeah. So this issue is bookended with some present day stuff, but is largely flashbacks. And I shouldn't say that because there's also the present day stuff with Vandal Savage and
Let's go.
Arzen's mother. I can tell Matt's excited by that. But there's also a lot of backstory about the
and the sands and the winds.
Yeah, Arzen's mother who married a guy from the Wind tribe, and she's in the Sand tribe.
Some Ra's al Ghul history in there.
Some Ra's al Ghul, this hidden city of Erhen.
And then we throw in Vandal Savage.
Look, guys, I know how Pete feels about this kind of historical stuff, but like this is what I love in comics. And I don't need them to all be connected, and I am hoping that there's maybe some stuff that, you know how stories go, it's like a game of telephone, like over time stuff gets added and removed and stuff.
I don't mind so much with this particular set because it's like Vandal Savage and Ra's al Ghul, both who have lived a really long time.
Eons.
Of course they've crossed paths.
Yes. So, but just the idea that the Orgums are tied to Ra's and the whole, you know, the whole origin of Lazarus.
I mean, the Orgums have been tied to Raz since they've been introduced, so it's not like that's been something that's been a blindsided thing.
No.
So, I mean, I enjoyed the issue well enough. I did feel like it took a little bit to read. I will say this is the second issue, I think, in maybe 3 or 4 months that has been mostly like telling the story of something in the past. You know, it's not been...
It was like the second issue of this arc, I think it was like that.
There's been a couple of that, and I was thinking as I was reading this, like I can see why this maybe is putting off some just more casual Batman fans, because it's not... I mean, this issue is very un-Batman-y. It's just kind of like this story of all these other characters in the past.
Yeah, do you know what it is? It's better.
Yeah, well, it's desert folklore around Ra's al Ghul in a Batman book.
Yeah, I'm not going to say it better. I think I trust Ram V, and I think he's doing a decent enough job, and I like that there's a lot of history to all this. I like that it's building up the threat of what they're doing in the city, and it feels like it's very rich and layered. But I will say, you know, he's throwing around a lot of terminology and a lot of names, and it's a lot of the stuff that turns me off fantasy. Is kind of a lot of this backstory stuff is. And
this is where I feel where I break from the fantasy and get more into mythology and legends and stuff, because this feels very much like, you know, the legend of Lazarus or whatever.
Don't get me wrong, this is still much better than whatever the hell that last issue of Batman was. So
I've still not read it. I haven't gone back and caught up yet. I'm really scared to.
But I just love too that it's Ram V telling a story about telling stories. You know, too. Like he's
it's definitely
really good at that.
A theme that he's interested in. I think we spoke before how Tynan's really interested in like a similar concept with like tulpas and stuff. This is kind of Ram V's kind of little mini obsession as well, because it's the same sort of thing he did in his Swamp Thing.
Yeah,
the idea of stories kind of having this life of their own.
Yeah, no, like I'm down with the themes, and I do mostly enjoy kind of what it reveals about the backstory. I mean, if nothing else, it really feels like it's setting up this this relationship with like Batman in the city, and they're comparing that to this hidden city and how it was lost, and Batman's going to have to make this choice between the people in the city and all that stuff. Like this is all.
I know what Batman's going to say is yes.
So like, you know, I'm enjoying all that stuff. I like that it's, you know, we see again these other supporting characters from the family, the wolf, the I don't even know what the other ones are called, but you know what I mean. Like
I like the idea that when Talia's telling the story though, is that Ra's, you know, gave them each of what their, you know, kind of what their power sets around, so we can identify them easier without having to remember their names.
Yeah, no,
so,
that's good.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, the bookend of this is that the Orgums are about to do a big sort of grand opening of their building in Gotham, and the theory is that they're going to like turn on their machine that can like change the will of all the people in the city when they're all focused. So there's a little bit of backstory in how that's one of the devices that came out of this hidden city that the Orgums get their hands on. I actually thought it was setting up earlier on in the backstory that it was going to be like the two stones like combined for this item, but it wasn't that.
No.
Arzen's grandmother though's got one of the stones stuck in her head,
embedded.
Yeah, it looks kind of gnarly.
Yeah, that's what Vandal Savage comes and
reclaims.
Macho Man Vandal Savage comes and pulls it out of her head.
Let's go. That's a shirt. Whoever works on, I will buy that shirt if you make it, please.
Do you know what? Vandal Savage is such a weird name that I always want to say it incorrect. Like I always want to just sort of swap the letters and be like you know, Savile Vandage or
Sandal Vandage.
Sandal Vandage.
That's if there's ever a flippin' Jeff Bridges character, it's Sandal Vandges.
Sandal Vandage.
In every Western ever.
Yeah. So,
oh dear.
Oh my god! Now how have we not gotten him as a version of Vandal Savage? He has a perfect voice for that.
He does.
Anyway, no, I love tying that what gave the Orgums their power originally is also one of the meteorites that gave us Vandal Savage. You know, and the fact that the grandma calls him, you know, you Neanderthal, it's always just a rock to you. You don't understand the true power. Whereas, you know, they've used this power to create an empire, basically. And he's still just going around smashing stuff because it's fun.
Yeah, the backstory, just to sort of sum it up, it's basically so way back. Arzen's mother was the princess of the Sand tribe. She married the Wind tribe, you know, prince.
The nomads.
Yeah, the nomads. And this sort of stopped their warring. But she was a bit scheming, and she asked her husband to go and find the hidden city of Erhan, and sent Ra's al Ghul, who was his trusted best friend and bodyguard, to kill him when they find it. And when they eventually find it and they fight off like the guardians of it, it's all very kind of mummy. There's like a hidden army, all that stuff. We find out that many people from his tribe over the years have actually found this place, but every one of them has chosen to turn away because the old man who's there to guard it says, "Hey, this was turned away because the temptation is too much. This was always the thing that..."
It's very King Arthur, Holy Grail.
Yeah. So he's going to make that choice. He turns away, but then Raz is like, no. Although Raz...
I can't let you do this, bud.
Yeah, Raz doesn't just kill him outright, though. He sort of gives him a choice. He says, you like, this is what will happen to your son if you make this choice. This is what will happen to your wife if you make that choice. So, you know.
Well, and it was something of compassion, which kind of is Ra's al Ghul's MO, right? Like he doesn't want to take over the world because he wants to conquer things Lex Luthor style. He wants to preserve it, and this is along these lines. Is, you know, he tries to give his friend a noble death, knowing what lies ahead. So that was pretty cool. Yeah,
it's all very interesting. I think, you know, my only real critique of the issue, or maybe not the issue specifically, but more just the arc, is that having two big issues like this that are mostly told in backstory does feel like it's slowing down the progression and the present day stuff a little bit. I'm just
trying to remember specifically. Was it this arc? Was it not like the second or third issue of the first arc that had one of these issues?
We had the one story that was the story of the
we also had the annual, that was the story of
that's not what I was in at, but oh man, the Asmer.
That was quite early on, right?
That was early on, and then we've had the annual that told the story of Gotham.
Then this one.
Infancy, and now this.
So I think that's what's making... I think it's the annual that makes it feel like they've been more regular than they have and slowing the pace, because I think it's only been one in each arc, but then the annual in the middle has kind of made it feel like it was more recent.
Well, no, because when we got introduced that Ra's was part of that story started in the last one.
That was only a few pages, though.
Yeah. So
that wasn't the whole book.
It definitely feels very heavy, though, and I think that's maybe why this run, while it's very solidly written, and I do think it's much better than Batman right now, I think it's probably turning away a lot of Batman fans who just want Batman investigating the thing and fighting it, you know?
Yeah.
It's very dense, but also, I'm okay, quality of Batman aside, I'm glad they're very different books and are, for sure, in theory, hitting those different markets. Because I think Batman is more that book that you're kind of describing there, that maybe some Batman fans are disappointed that this isn't that. Because in theory, they've got Batman to go and enjoy, whereas you can have this sort of story in Detective instead. And
for me, this feels like the Denny O'Neil world globetrotting. Maybe it's just Ra's al Ghul being there, but like that era Batman I really like, just because it's him getting out of Gotham. But here, he's still there, and he's trying to figure out stuff. But we're getting out and seeing like just how expansive the Orgums are.
I would describe this as like a story that doesn't inherently appeal to me, that is still good because the writing quality is high enough that it's taking me through it, and I'm not like, you know, I'm enjoying it. I'm excited to see where the story goes, how the outcome's going to play out, like all that stuff. Like, it's all working very well.
This has all the makings of a great omnibus, like one big dense read at some point in the future.
I mean, we're in Act 2 now of the overall story, so I don't know if like the plan is to like do this in 3 acts and then maybe we'll move on.
It's based on an opera as well. Like, not any specific opera, but he kept comparing it to.
How many acts do operas usually have? Because it's more than 3.
Up to 5 usually.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, that puts it up there, but it definitely has that whole storytelling as we're going. Stuff's going to be revealed, and I feel like whatever is beyond the Orgums, Ramvi has not just like a plan or whatever, right? But like the Orgums are leading to something about Bruce, whatever that is, and I feel like that's going to be the focus when this is wrapped up.
I will say this though, like I can totally see he's getting to a point here where the city's taken over. And I've complained about that a few times recently in back comics, but it won't bother me that much in this because it's taken the time to build up that they're trying to do that. So if they actually do achieve it, it won't feel like it's just out of nowhere in issue 3 of the first arc. Oh shit,
right. Well, and it's not Joker gas or Scarecrow gas or.
Well, I was thinking more the robot in the first Batman arc.
That's right.
I forgot about that. I was thinking Bane.
Because it was like issue 4 or something. It's like, oh, he's taken over Gotham and it's turned into a robot police state.
That's right.
Yeah. But I mean, right. even going back, I feel that way about like City of Bane. At the end of the Tom King run, where it's just like all of a sudden it gets it's Bane City now.
Yeah,
it didn't really build to it in the same way that like this has taken by the time we get to it, it'll be at least like 10 or 12 issues.
Yeah. Well, and they're seeding stuff throughout. Like we've seen them go through their plan, and they're putting Asmer in random people and setting knockout
by the time it does get. Assuming they do take over the city, and there's an inevitability to that feeling right now, there'll be a sense of, okay, we've followed this story. Batman's been trying to stop it, and he's failed. Okay, he lost here. What's next? As opposed to just villain comes out and takes city, Batman immediately.
Well, and that's where this started, right? Because Batman was having panic attacks.
Yeah,
and he didn't know what was going on, and now, we've kind of gotten away from that a little bit because he's been busy dealing with all this stuff, but we had that really good moment with him and Gordon,
Yeah, it's whenever there's a quiet moment.
I mean, that's some of my favorite stuff in this run is the Batman and Two-Face and Gordon stuff. That's the stuff that's really something to me.
And that's also what I love that Ramvi's doing is like, he's made fresh new characters, right? But he's also using like established characters in new ways, right? Like we had Gordon kind of being his Alfred there, and we have Two-Face kind of growing a conscience. So I love everything that's going on in this book. This is one of the books that like I get stoked when it comes out because I get to read that this week.
It's one of those. I don't think it's as immediately exciting as some of the books. It's not high octane, here's all your action. It is a slow burn book.
Yeah, it's a slow burn. That's exactly the phrase I was about to use.
But which inherently doesn't always lend itself as well to the monthly format.
Right.
But I do think it's one of the best books that is being published by DC at the minute.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think this is one the run will be more in the sum of its single issues when it's done, as my general feeling as we're going through it. Whereas like not every issue on its own feels like necessarily a great one-off issue, but I think
it all
the run
feels
as a
like
whole,
it's a piece. Like even if it's not like, oh, I didn't love that issue, but it feels like it is adding something important to the story, and
it's very serialized, right? In that way.
It is, and assuming that Ramvi doesn't flub the ending, it should be great. And I have no reason to think he will, because I mean, one, he's not Williamson. Two, he doesn't have a history of flubbing endings.
Yeah, no, I mean, if Swamp Thing's thing could go off of, or Justice League Dark, I think he stuck all of those.
It's really sad how the slow turn on this show to just shitting on Williamson
it has, and I was going to try to be that person up against it, but
if you go way back to our very first episode, the Rebirth announcement panel for WonderCon, and Williamson's announcement, Matt was just so excited because you'd read, what was his other one that you liked?
Narrator.
Yeah, you loved that.
Yeah.
And you were so excited for this, and
I still like the majority of its Flash, and other things have potential.
Yeah, I'm just starting to.
I'm just starting to feel a different kind of fatigue with him. Where, it's very John-Zine in that way, but we'll get to there in Green Arrow. But
so old lady, the grandmother, right? The store in her head. She gets that ripped out by Vandal Savage.
Yep.
And Mother Orgum's like, the final battle will be in Gotham, and he's like, yeah, I'll see you in Gotham. So he's like, Ooh, I'm going to get them.
Yeah, a cup of coffee.
Dig it.
We can't do Macho Man justice, Pete. We can try.
I can, but I'm going to try. I'm always going to try.
Yeah.
He's going to be like, Batman, I got 3 minutes playtime.
Oh my god, if he hits a bone saw, that's it.
Gotham will be mine. Ooh, yeah.
Rest in peace, Macho.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh, dear. Anyway, yeah. So a solid issue, solid part of the run.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so excited to see. I love that Batman's working with Nightwing and Cass. He's got the team kind of working to try and stop whatever this is. So we'll see how it plays out next time. I didn't read the backup. Did anyone read the backup?
I did.
Feel free to tell us about it then.
Yeah, so it's just it's Iceberg continuing that story with Dr. Freeze, with Mr. Freeze and the doctor, the psychiatrist. Yeah. And basically he's created this machine that not only freezes but also can help like regenerate. So it's almost he's finally figured out the the formula for Nora, but the psychiatrist calls him on his narcissism that
it's specifically a thing for like it's like a form of localized time travel. It kind of resets things and undoes
certain things.
Yeah, so it'll undo damage done to your body or your brain.
But and so she comes at him for being a narcissist and like this was never about Nora. This is all about you. You want to be the one that solves her sickness. You don't want to be the one that you don't want to cure her just to have her back. You want to cure her because you're the one to cure her, and it kind of makes him.
Yeah, my favorite line is where he's like, "Oh, I'm not some lunatic," and she's like, "Yeah, no, we agree. You're not mentally unwell. You're a narcissistic F."
Yep. So it's real good. Yep. But yeah, so I'm thinking this is also how the Asmer plot's gonna be revealed because we know you can freeze them, right? And it's almost as if this is going to be what Batman uses. This almost localized time.
His thing seems to be working at the end, like with whatever's accidentally happened to it. It seems to be working now.
Right, and then just we have that weird kid from the beginning backups, comes in and saves her, and then but that her inner monologue, that lyric, that little music that was talking to her, it's almost like it's still there, but this whatever this the machine that Freeze created kind of is holding it at bay as well. So I'm curious to see where all that stuff goes. But yeah, no, it's not a bad backup. It definitely feels a little bit superfluous.
It is. I liked what it did with Freeze at the end there, where he was like, "I'm not unwell," and she's like, "No, you're not. You're just narcissistic." And he's like, "No. I'm not trying to cure Nora with this. It's to fix. She stopped loving me because I changed. So let me use this to undo what happened to my brain to make me a better person again."
Yeah, except that's still part of the problem, man.
Yeah, but
you're not learning. You're trying to undo things. So
but it's an interesting development in that it is still personal development, even though it's like I say, it's not learning because it's just undoing things. It's not progress,
but it is a step.
But it is in the right direction that it's aimed towards making himself better, at least. So there's he's recognized that he's the problem now,
right?
So there's progress.
Yeah. So again, pretty decent. I'm still loving that Two-Face backup that was happening earlier.
Yeah,
where we got to see the
Wingard art is nice.
Yeah, the Wingard art is very, very, very nice. So, but yeah.
All right.
And the just at the very end in the machine, it's like it's very much looks like a face, right?
Yeah. Well, isn't that that was talking to her?
Right? Yeah, that's why I thought it looked like that.
Right.
Obviously, with her, it was a bit more stylized and a bit more like ghostly, whereas this here it's a little more electronic.
Right. Well,
yeah, I think it was
whatever that was. It jumped.
Yeah.
Right when it cured her. So.
All right. Yeah. Well, I guess we'll rate Detective Comics then. Matt, what are you giving it?
I'm giving this a 8.5.
Connor?
I'm gonna go with it. Yeah, I'll go with the 8.5 as well.
Yeah. Straight 8 for me. It's not this type of issue that doesn't necessarily appeal to me quite as much, so it's a little lower, but still enjoying the run quite a bit. Action Comics 1054, Philip K. Johnson writing with Rafa Sandoval on art, on the main story at the very least. And this, of course, continues the cliffhanger where one of the twins showed up to this rally and maybe killed someone, but you can argue it's maybe a bit of a cop-out that it's like, turns out these are all Metallo drones, so she was never at fault.
But it doesn't really address the fact that she still tried and did those actions not knowing it was a Metallo drone.
Yeah.
However, she is trying to explain, like, he was hurting people or whatever, and so I can, kid that was born on World, she still has ways to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably teaching moments to come after this, but at least right now, obviously things are accelerating. There's too much going on to like stop and have that moment. John shows up with the other twin to try and stop her / help the person who's injured. Turns out they're Metallo drones. All hell breaks loose. Superman shows up to help as well. Metallo obviously is there too. He attacks John. They kidnap the kids. The idea is that, you've got my sister, so I'm going to take your family as well. And that all, escalates to this big showdown with Metallo, which by the end of it, Metallo is defeated and Superman promises to help get his sister back, as you would expect he would.
It gets very Superman in that moment, and I love it because it's just stuff that we've talked about from Johnson his entire run going back to World. But I think it's... Go ahead, Connor.
I was gonna say, it is very Superman, but at the same time, there's other parts in this issue where he's like not out of character, but not doing as much of a good job, specifically with John. I don't know if it's intentional that's kind of the angle that it's going of, adding towards John feeling overlooked, and he's not looking out for his family as much. He's too busy being Superman, or if it's just a flub.
Well, what I meant about being Superman is when he explains to Metallo, like, I'm not, that type of stuff. Just the Superman, like, who would I be to turn down,
But also, I mean, he's great at doing that with the wider public, or in this case, villains.
Right.
But is he overlooking his family, like with the way he's treating John? I don't know if it's an intentional thing or if I'm just reading that wrong.
What are you specifically talking about here?
There's the moment where after the kids are kidnapped, John's like, "Hey, no, it has to be me to go find them," and he explains that, "Oh no, they think that I replaced them, but I don't. I swear. But it's got to be me." And Superman's like, "Hey, I get it, but no, I'm doing this." And just kind of shrugs him off a little bit.
So I read that as he's pulling the dad card and was like, "No, I understand why you think that, but nobody thinks that. The kids don't think that. You just need to. I got this from here. You go help with the drones with the rest of the family."
Right, but this is where I feel like it's, again, I don't know if this is where the story is going, but it feels like he's not putting enough trust in John. He's like overlooking his own family in that sense, and that John's going to start feeling that resentment a little bit. Because, I mean, even at the end of this, after Superman tells him, "Hey, I don't want you facing Metallo," he says, pulling the dad card. John just goes, he says, "Yes, sir," but he looks really dejected.
Yeah. Well, it's this thing, too, that he thinks can be a hero, right? It's the teenager thing. But I can go and do this stuff, too, but John or Clark's...
I just think this beat, for me, feels really weird after we just had John be Superman for months when Clark wasn't here. He wasn't on planet. Clark left the planet and went, "Hey, John, you're Superman now. You're ready for this. You got this." And then he comes back and it feels like it's undermining that progression that John had. And again, maybe that's intentional. Maybe this is the story that it's going to be of John being like, "Hey, I thought I was ready for this. You thought I was ready for this. And now you're saying I'm not." And it's really contradictory.
Yeah.
But maybe I kind of hope that's the story, because otherwise it's just playing a little bit weird for me.
I mean, I think the moment here with the heartbeat where he can tell John's being honest, that he's going to go and do what he says, but he looks dejected, like you say. I think that feels too intentional, that moment, to just be a flub. That to me feels like a very specific moment where it's like, he doesn't agree with this, he's not happy about it, but he'll do what he says.
Right.
I feel like this is too intentional for it not to be something that he's laying down, potentially for a story where maybe John is feeling overlooked or but not trusted is not the right phrase, but you know what I mean, like being undervalued as a
John might be overlooked, but he's not going to be overlooked enough to go to Kellex and ask to be transported to a planet. Right?
I think that's something that it's maybe this is playing again with those beats of the missing teenage years, and that John is an adult now, right? That's the age we're playing, a young adult,
college, early college maybe.
Right, but so 18 to 20, give or take. Again, relatively irresponsible in the grand scheme of adulthood, but an adult making his own decisions nonetheless.
Yeah.
And obviously, I don't know if this is still playing back to those beats of, oh, Clark missed those. He thinks he's still a teenager of like, hey, my house, we do what I say sort of rules.
I just think he came from a place of safety because of Metallo and the kids, and that it's one of these things that Clark has to do it himself, and maybe that is part of it too. And John telling him, you have this family, we're here to help.
But that's the moment I think is weird for me, is that John's like, no, I have to be the one to do this. They have this, I was responsible. They think I feel this way. I need to be the one to rescue them, to show them.
Yeah.
And Clark kind of just brushes it off. And again, like I say, maybe he's just playing the dad card of, hey, no, at the end of the day, it's my problem. But it felt off to me. And I hope that's where the story's going, because then it's justifying this. Otherwise, it just feels a little bit strange.
Well, at the very least, I think the fact that he's saying it has to be me tells me that there's going to be at least a follow-up with him and the twins.
And the kids,
that wraps up that through line there. Because I don't see that just being left behind now. I think that's definitely going to have a payoff.
I agree, but now I feel like for me as well, it has to have a beat between John and Clark as well as John and the twins.
Yeah,
I think that's what this scene set up for me, and I hope it does follow through on that.
It wouldn't surprise me if it does. Like, it doesn't seem out of the realm.
The run hasn't
possibility.
been angling towards that up until this moment. I haven't felt it until this issue, so it kind of feels a little bit out of nowhere compared to where we were with the twins.
I mean, to be fair, like this arc really is the first time that Johnson's really done anything with John, because Warworld was so separate from John.
Well, since his first story, right, where they went off to that alien planet.
Yeah, but that was ages ago. Like, John's been such but it's been so disconnected from the story that Johnson's been telling, that like the idea that he's not been angling this way up until now.
It's more
like,
this is
he's not been around. This is the first time he's doing anything with him.
Right, but this is like the fourth issue of the arc. We've been doing the stuff with the twins the whole time, and this is kind of the first instance of John.
Yeah,
and
but
Clark.
we just introduced last issue that we have this thing between John and the twins, right? It just introduced that in the last issue. This issue is this next step of it, which is then bringing it into like Clark into the picture, like how he relates to all this.
The twins a couple issues before.
Well, the scene where they asked him if they hated him. That was last issue.
Oh no, that was the direct part of it, obviously. But there was the stuff before that with the jealousy, right?
What stuff before? I can't remember what you're talking about.
So obviously, was the John was asking to go play the game, the issue before, like that issue, right? The start of that issue.
Yeah,
it was the cube thing that Clark made for him, and then he realized, like,
yeah, I think that was last issue, was it not?
Yeah, I thought so.
Is that not the issue before?
Maybe what, but regardless, I mean, like, this is the next step of this story that has been in this arc.
Yeah.
So this is the first time it's directly came between John and Clark. Obviously, you've had John, saying his feelings about the twins and how he's feeling, or we've been seeing how he feels weird about how these child memories he has are now happening with these twins. But this is maybe the first time that it's been directly kind of like between him and Clark, where he's actually it's came up in the story between them. So maybe this is just a natural point of like, this is where it finally converges and we start to see how it plays off between them. It probably wouldn't surprise me if we get a heart-to-heart with Clark and John at some point, where Clark talks to him about, oh, how has this been, these feelings that have been bubbling.
Oh yeah, that kind of has to be there, right?
Yeah. So I suspect that. So we see the big twist at the end of this though. There's a little hint as well. The whoever's like sending the signal of his sister to him, basically says, "Oh, Metal, you're a loser. You've always been a loser. This tech that we've been, testing in your body, we'll find a better host for it." And then there's a reveal who this next host is at the end. Also, where Metallo's sister is, all like, hooked up to hell knows what these pipes and shit are. But it's Cyborg Superman is the next attempt.
Hank Henshaw. You should have known it was you.
Can you tell it's an anniversary of Death and Return of Superman?
However, all of the stuff here that led to the drones, right? And all of that stuff, very smartly seeded to Henshaw, just with the way the technology jumps. Just
it does. I do want to clarify. I did not have a problem with that in this story. It was just more of a we had we got Steel showing up. We got a Connor Kemp book. Now Cyborg Superman's back. It's like, hey, we're kind of doing everyone.
I think that's pretty sick. I mean, what I would say is that this, especially if the running theme here is that we keep using like different robotic enemies from Superman's history. It feels like a natural jump to go from Metallo to Cyborg Superman.
So,
and if there's another one after him, maybe you I don't know.
Right.
Some sort of Brainiac drone or something.
I was going to say, Brainiac drones. Obviously, since we got it, I mean, it was a while ago now, but the Johns retcon into Brainiac being an actual being.
Person, right?
Yeah, like that obviously changes just to being a traditional cyborg or robot enemy. But
so it's revealed here that Metallo's new heart is a orphan box, but it's fueled by kryptonite, which
sounds horrific.
Right. So who could have done that? Right? Like
Lex.
We know it wasn't him.
It doesn't really line up.
He claims it wasn't him, and it doesn't line up, but somehow it was Lex.
No, I mean, if anything, it's more likely to be someone from Warworld or I don't know.
And so, because at first I thought, well, is this Henshaw? Has this been Henshaw's plan? Is that he's using Warworld tech?
No, he feels like just the next.
Not.
Yeah, because for a second I was thinking, is Henshaw behind all this? And I went, no. The voice said the next, maybe we'll find a better host. So he's the next host. He's not the one who's pulling the strings to this.
And that's what got me. So I'm like, so who's pulling Henshaw's chain here now? Right, to send him on that
Is
direction.
there a big Superman villain that could be a big reveal later on? Is anyone willing to take a complete stab?
I would just wait to throw out, maybe it is Brainiac, and this is an extension of the Brainiac drones. Is kind of doing it through various other robotic elements of Superman's enemies.
To which end though, right? Is like, because Brainiac's the collector, right? Like he's so is this a different version of Brainiac? Is this is this the
hey, I don't have motivations locked down.
I'm gonna say because there are different, the whole, what was that book, Rebels, back in the early 2000s, that was the son of Brainiac trying to distance himself from his dad's legacy. Is this someone like that? But I thought that was a nice little wrinkle.
Actually, no, I've got the answer. We can move on. I've solved it. It's Superboy Prime. So let's just move on.
You say that like a joke, but I can see it working because he's the complete opposite of everything Superman stands for.
That's an old running joke that just blame Superman Prime as the mystery guy behind everything. But I don't know.
Punching realities.
It's Prime Time, baby.
Ozymandias.
No, we're not going down that
Dr.
path
Manhattan.
We're not going down that path. I don't know. I don't know if there's maybe some big. I'm trying to think of who from Superman's Rogues Gallery would make sense as a.
I think the fact that it's keeping a mystery definitely implies that it is someone we would recognize.
Yeah.
Not someone new.
Because it would be easy to rewrite these scenes and show us a face instead of just a voice if it was someone new, right?
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Well, and someone that's familiar with these people, right? Because they were familiar with Corbin, because it was like, you're a loser. You've always been a loser. I should have known better than to have you do this for me. So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Mysteries afoot.
Anywho, that's the main story. So we got backups here as well. Of course, we're continuing the John backup with the princess alien chick. Gleanna, yes. Which is basically just her saving John because he's hurt when they crash land. She tells a bit of her backstory about how her royal family was attacked because things were going bad, and she fled to escape the kill squads. Then it turns out the big twist of this backup is that she's actually like an entitled princess, evil bitch, and she's going to try and force Superman by keeping John captive. She has powers, and the robot that was attacking them works for her.
Well, she has like weird time powers, right? Because it's John that pulls her out of the fire, and then his hands are burnt, and she goes, "I thought you were invulnerable." He goes, "Well, we're not sure what I can do yet," because he's still a kid. And then so she uses like some time dilation stuff to reverse time to where his hands weren't burned, and stuff. So she's pretty powerful on her own, right? If she can do stuff like that. So what does she need Superman for?
To fight back the peasants?
Right, that I would feel, judging from her story and from what she revealed, is 100% they were, they're going to go back and there's going to be like a utopia because they overthrew her family.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
It's feeling very French Revolution.
Yeah.
She's a Bourbon.
Yeah.
You got the Napoleon leading the revolution of all the peasants. A little bit of an empire. Everything's going great at first, and she's going to go back and be like, look how terrible everything's going. Just put me back on the throne.
Yeah. I will say, I did think the twist at the end of this made me sort of just go, oh, okay, that's where we're going with this.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I didn't really feel all that passionate about it.
It's a very Jurgen story, this, right? It's very, like, it's fine. Like, it looks nice. Jurgen's, I think, he's always drawn better than he's written, at least for me. Not that he's ever a bad writer. Okay, he can be a bad writer, but not that he's always a bad writer, but he's rarely a great writer.
When he's inspired, he's really, he can tell a real good superhero story.
I think it's when he's telling a story, like for characters he's particularly passionate about.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think he always draws great.
Yeah. I'm a little bit more invested in the Lois and Clark stuff in here about how this, what's his name?
Doombreaker. Victor Von Doombreaker.
Victor Von Doombreaker. How he's kind of a cipher for trauma, right? Like Doomsday happened, affected this one guy. It kind of infects people as it goes, and so Clark's trying to find John, and Doombreaker attacks, and I'm much more interested in that kind of story of Clark trying to help this guy, break through. But we didn't get much of that. We got more of the spacey stuff that kind of ended with a.
Yeah, I'm just.
There's still, I assume, a couple of parts left.
Yeah, it's an easy enough read. But I will say, just kind of the flip to her being a villain just kind of felt like, okay, I guess.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing then, I guess. So I'm just not feeling super passionate about it. I did read the other backup as well because it's not the Power Girl one anymore. It's this is like a little
Steel.
It's a little seed into the Steelworks book that's coming in June.
I hope the Steelworks book is better than this.
Yeah, I got like two or three pages into this and I was like, I'm not feeling this.
I wasn't super into it. I think honestly the biggest problem with it is that it's really just Steel recapping his origin, and that's basically it. That's the whole thing.
And I'm okay with that as a reintroduction and stuff. The way he talks, constantly making technology puns, does not feel like John Henry Irons that I've read before.
I am glad that this was not Dawn writing this.
Yeah,
because my concern. I got a few pages in, I wasn't feeling it. Yeah. I was like, I'm just gonna flick to the end of this. I'm not that bothered.
Yeah, so yeah,
I was like, and I thought I best check the writer, and it's not. It's Dorado Quick.
Yeah, Dorado Quick is the writer. So, while it's obviously a lead-in for the Steelworks book, it's a different writer, so you wouldn't necessarily judge that book based on this.
No.
Yeah.
So that's what it's set before Action 1051. It's basically Steel on his way, being late for his speech in front of the building and revealing to everyone that he's Steel, whilst in his head recapping his origin, and that's it. That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of there.
He fights a guy named Amalgam, who I'm not quite sure what his power is. Is he an android? Is he cybernetic? Like whatever his deal is, but he knocks.
He's an
John
amalgam
out.
Of both, Matt.
I guess. And then at the end, as he's giving the speech, it goes to a guy in a shadowy room that kind of looks like an evil Mr. Terrific. So maybe this is,
So you just mentioned Mr. Terrific, and it reminded me. I don't know if you guys saw Mitch Gerrard's re-upped his exclusive contract for DC.
Very good.
Wait, why did that arrange you, Mr. Terrific?
Because of Strange Adventures.
Ah, okay.
I just said the guy.
I'm glad Matt understood that.
I was just like, speaking of Mr. Terrific, Mitch Gerrard, I'm like, huh? What? Why?
Yeah. But yeah, I hope his coccyx is okay.
I mean, obviously, good news. He's a great artist. I'm happy he's sticking around. But So yeah, all right. That's Reaction Comics 1054. Matt, what are you giving it?
So I have to take the whole thing into account, not just the main story, which I really enjoyed. So I'm gonna give it a 7.5.
All right.
I'm gonna give it a 7. Solid issue, but I'm not as in love with this part of the run as I was the World stuff.
I'm going to give it an 8, with the slight asterisk that I'm just ignoring the backups because I don't feel the backups should drag it down if I enjoyed the main story. So if I'm averaging it with the backups, yes, it goes down to like I don't know, at most a 7, maybe a 6.5. But I'm ignoring those. Those don't exist. It's fine. So yeah, that's that. Green Arrow issue 1, Joshua Williamson writing with Sean Izaakse, just Izaakse, maybe, yeah. On the art. So this is the start of this new Green Arrow run, and Joe's so sad about this is that it's not even been that long, but it wasn't until someone mentioned it like several pages in that I'm like, oh yeah, Oliver get left behind and the whole Infinite Crisis shit or the Dark Crisis shit.
I'm glad there was an editor's note because I did not finish that.
I completely forgot it. I just thought when it started with him waking up on a beach, right? I thought, oh, this is how we're starting the story. Not one part of me went, wait, Oliver's not meant to be around. why is he here?
It started with him on a beach, and then the next page was like, oh, this isn't Earth. I was like, okay, cool. I'll just ride with it. I didn't realize at this point that this was following on from
Crisis.
Yeah, I just completely forgot all that.
Crisis.
So yeah, there's a bit of a recap of who he is over a 2-page layout.
Which also I want to point out is the first, but not the only instance in this issue where the lettering is absolutely horrendous.
Yeah.
Because it should. My first thought was, okay, I start on that one on the first thing on the left, which is a bit lower down, but it's not. So you start at the very top, but inset a little bit, and you go down. And then you think, okay, you go from this happened, and you keep going down.
Hold on, I disagree with that first part. I didn't even think of reading that one down there on the left. I went up to the top.
Okay, but then after you follow those first four boxes down, this happened. Your eyes are already on a downward trajectory, so you keep going down, especially as the art is sticking into that panel from just above. Merlin's head is right underneath.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily disagreeing with the overall critique. I think I started my eye did go to the starting place naturally.
That's fine. I'll take that one. But the second one, so it goes from this happened, and you want to keep going down because you're going downwards. Merlin's head sticking in. It feels like that's the next part. You want to go down to that where it says trained with some bad people, but it's not. Yeah. It's up to, and then this happened instead. It feels really all over the place.
So we start with Oliver. He's on a beach. It's some sort of alien world or interdimensional world, whatever. And then after his little, this is who I am. Here's my recap. It goes to present day in Gotham, I believe, and it's Connor Hawk, Roy, and Black Canary on motorbikes. So we get a bit of an action scene with them fighting some goons. They get a proper introduction, which is fine. It's an issue 1.
I like all of that because it feels very superhero-y.
Yeah, I'm not complaining. Them all getting a half page to say, here's who they are.
This is the other page where I struggle with the lettering. Because I think there's such a gap. So on each side, you've got, Roy and Connor on left and right. And the top half of the page feels like it should read. So you read, Roy Harper, a.k.a. Speedy, whatever, greatest marksman. And then it's such a leap down to where the next box is I trained him that I didn't go to that. I went across from, greatest marksman, I should know, and then across to, Connor Hawk because they're so close together.
I just read the Roy stuff first and the Connor stuff.
I don't know why these felt like vertical panels to me. I don't know.
Yeah, so I just went straight down and then I jumped over to Connor Hawk.
It's not much. It's just slight placements of where the boxes are. They just need to be moved like an inch up a little bit, instead of being crossing over with that next panel, if it just moves up a little bit to underneath, like by his foot, I think it becomes a lot clearer to read it there. Whereas as it is, it feels like a huge separation in the middle of the page. That it feels like instead of feeling like it's split vertically in thirds, in half, it feels like it's split horizontally in thirds.
I don't know if I get that. The third thing.
No. Look at the page. You've got the top third of that there. You got the middle third, which is both of their torsos and the bodies. Connor Hawk especially because he's upside down, and then you've got the bottom third of the bottom panels.
Yeah, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I will say it would maybe make it more obvious if the tall panels at the top actually went all the way down to underneath those boxes at the bottom. I think it would maybe make it more clear. It's all just like one, vertical slice. You read down this one, and you read down the other one. But I don't know. I feel like you're being a little overly like I don't know, sensitive to this here.
Maybe, like I said, I think it's the blank space in that middle third on both sides that makes it feel like it's really split up.
No, I still just feel they're both vertical. Those panels are inset into the main. So it didn't bother
Maybe
me.
this is just me, but let's say, yeah, lift up that little bottom lettering box just a little bit, and that completely gets rid of that dead space in the middle.
Yeah, I've got I had concerns coming out of this, like to talk about in this book, but Connor's throwing all these other things at me.
This is what I miss Connor on the show, because every so often we'll get a completely Connor take.
I have other problems with the issue. Don't be wrong.
No, but those issues tend to be more in line with stuff that me and Pete would find bothersome. So every so often you get one that's just a Connor one.
Yeah, the cross wasn't on this panel.
Yeah,
I stand by it. It wasn't there.
And again, I'm not going to argue and say you're wrong because that's how you perceive things. It cracks me up every so often. There's one of these.
Maybe I am nuts on this one. Maybe this is I am the only person in the world who has experienced this. So, but I'm telling you, my brain sees that in thirds.
I mean, the two-page layout, I thought your critiques were fair. Like the two-page layout, I basically just followed because it was obvious at a glance in the sense that I can see the linear history of Green Arrow playing out, so I just know where to go, as opposed to I'm following the lettering, if that makes sense. So I get the critique in that page, that my just knowledge of the character is what led me in the right direction.
I fully get on that first page where it's recapping Ollie's origin. I fully get where you're coming from.
Yeah. So anyway, Shoes shows up, right? And obviously we've been looking forward to this potential reunion and stuff. I did think it played out a little bit weird here. Like, I do like the art where it's like that slice through her face when he says the
well, you can just see her eyes.
Yeah, I thought that was a really cool bit of like art in terms of how to perceive her reacting to that. But this idea that Roy just completely knew she was here and like just spills his guts out felt a bit weird to me.
Also, I wasn't sure, how long has she remembered all of this? Because I got the impression before she didn't remember this history. Yeah. And was it him saying, "Oh, you threw your first ninja star"? Was that like triggering all her memories? Is that what that panel we just described? Is that her remembering?
I'm not sure, but I think it is more tied to Roy, because in those one shots that were leading up to Infinite Crisis, to Dark Crisis, whatever that was.
Yeah, Dark Crisis, Infinite Crisis.
Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths, whatever it was. Yeah,
just say the Crisis.
There you go. Him being timey-wimey displaced through things, I took it was he sees things from a different perspective, and maybe he does unlock it into her, but I don't know if this is his Leanne.
Honestly,
right?
To me, this didn't
she
play
plays
out
like it is, though.
Yeah, no, it definitely plays like she is his, but to me, this didn't play out like she was remembering anything here. This was playing out like she'd wanted to make this connection, and not only because he's opening up and she's hearing all the right things that she turns and hugs him.
I agree that's how it played, but I was under the impression before that she didn't have those memories. Like it never felt like she remembered any of this.
Well, not only that, I didn't think he knew that this was her, that she was here. Part of the thing that was exciting to me was his realization that this woman was his daughter, right? So the fact that he knows and just immediately spills his guts like this felt really, I don't want to say anticlimactic per se, but it felt like really left field.
It felt to me, and I don't know if this is coming from Williamson or if it's from editorial, like this up high shift of character relationships in a post-Didio world. And that, hey, this is what the fans actually want. They actually just want this family back together. We want to fix these things. And instead of doing it through a story like we've had with some of them, it was like, screw it. Just get it over and done with. Just throw it in the first issue.
It feels like they're wasting potential big moments by just having it. Even though some of it's still well told in the character reactions, like they say that slice through her eyes moment in the mask. Otherwise, it just kind of feels like they're throwing this out as quickly as possible just to get over with, rather than actually telling something that will make us care and feel the impact to the story beats.
I feel like they're trying to redo the Barry and Wally hug moment.
Kind of.
That was a long time building, though. With this is not as big.
Even in that entire Rebirth one-shot issue was spent building up to that moment.
Exactly.
Whereas this here, it feels like people will be happy because this is what they want. This is what the fans want. They want this reunion. They won't care how it's presented as long as it's there. And I kind of hate that.
I was kind of disappointed that it happened so quick. So
yeah, it just doesn't capitalize on any of the potential that it could have. Like you could have them working together for a couple of issues where maybe like he suspects or maybe she kind of knows who he is, and it kind of finally comes out that there's a relation here. But no, instead they just quickly do it, and then they get separated, and we go into this, like, what is this story that even, like, honestly, my biggest problem with this issue is that after we have this big hug moment, well, I do think it's a little bit forced, like, Shoes and Connor Hawke just get teleported away all of a sudden to somewhere where there's manhunters, or at least, well, she does anyway, I don't know where Connor Hawke goes, and there's like an old man Green Arrow. Presumably this is like when he's been here for wherever he landed in this speech
for a minute.
This is sometime later in this world, and that's where we kind of end this story more or less with all this stuff.
I kind of wish the book decided which one it was going to be, because if it was this old man Ollie, he's not even that old. Let's be fair.
No, I just say old. He's grown a beard. Is basically all.
Yeah, slightly more grizzled Ollie in this kind of dystopia Time Island. Yeah. Everything's kind of like dirty and grimy with chainsaw arrows. I can be down for that story.
Hunters.
Like, that's a fun story. I'm down for that. A story of, Roy reconnecting with his family. That's a story I'm down for. I don't think they're supposed to be in the same issue, in the same book, like the same. Especially as this was originally a 6-issue mini. That's a lot in one 6-issue mini.
It's very weird, and I definitely, I was definitely more into the other characters in present day, like. Having just Dinah and Connor Hawke and Shoes and
the kids and Dinah.
And I was also thinking, where's Emmy? Get Emmy in here. But like I'm like, just give me them like surviving without Ollie, and then have Ollie like come back. Like I'm way more interested in that in this weird adventure where he's off in space somewhere with the Manhunters.
Again, like I said, I'm into that story. Like I'm into that being a 6-issue mini of this is what happened to Ollie during this time. That could be a fun story. I don't think it belongs in the same book.
Yeah, I think sadly this just feels very Williamson to me, where things have no weight and he's just jumping around and throwing story concepts at us without any build-up.
And I feel like I hinted at when we were talking about another book about Williamson getting kind of Johns in that I love Jeff Johns. I love what he does, but I think sometimes he gets a little bit too cute with character histories and tries to make everything
too much of a fan.
Yeah, he tries to make it all work. So the stuff with Leanne and like all that backstory and her dying and all that stuff happened, but like there's no gravitas to it. There's no Roy being like, this can't be you. You were taken from me. You know what I mean?
He accepts it too readily. There should be, at the very least, there should be more in his dialogue that sounds like, I don't know how you can exist because you should be dead, but somehow you're here.
Right. And there, he's involved in a world where people come back all the time. So for him to be like, why is my kid back after now? Like,
it's too wishy. It's too wishy-washy.
Yeah.
There's no.
And that's where I got to the point that like, because I want to love a Green Arrow book. I love Green Arrow as a concept. I love this section of the world, but like what we were thrown into, like Connor was saying, pick one side, because I would much rather have read like an issue that hinted at Ollie washing up and then not get back to him until the next issue. Right. And then it was just focusing on the family stuff. And we get to take some time with them. Yeah. And then we can jump to the zany adventure at the end.
And it's not the exact same, obviously. It's not an alternate Earth, but it did make me think a little bit about Batman right now, and what I'm not feeling with that is that, Batman's scripted away to an alternate Earth. So instead of dealing with the characters and their relationships that I'm interested in, we're dealing with just surviving for the sake of action somewhere else. And this kind of is that kind of vibe to me. So, I mean, I'm not out on it yet by any means. I'll still, they're still easy enough to read.
I thought I was going to come in on this being like, oh man, the guys are down on Williamson. Let me be the guy to bring this up. And then when I finished reading it the other night, I was kind of like, oh man, this is going to be a tough conversation.
I was really disappointed as well, because I'd seen on Twitter people were like really into this issue and like really praising it. I'm like, they were like, yeah, Green Arrow's back. The whole family's back.
Is this just them being happy because of these characters at least getting some page time?
I think so.
Is that it?
I think it might be, because I think, that's good. I'm happy that those characters are getting a place, they're appearing in books. Of course I am.
But then I think about what Williamson did in Robin with Connor Hawke, and I get excited. Like, he knows that character. You know, even as a fan, like him writing Connor Hawke and Robin was the most I've enjoyed Connor Hawke, I think, ever. Like I wasn't a big fan of him as Green Arrow. Like it was fine, but back in the day, but him having the tie into the League of Shadows and all this other stuff, super cool. So I want to see more of like super cool Connor doing stuff. So maybe we'll get to that because we don't know where he went, right? He doesn't show up with
I guess
with
my
shoes,
hope
so.
right now, and it is weird that this was going to be a 6-issue series beforehand, but my hope right now is that much like Adam's Flash run, is that we'd have to spend a weird arc just cleaning up where Green Arrow was, so that afterwards it can just be this good family book where the relationships matter.
I hope so.
You know, I'm hopeful for that's what this could be. But Williamson does like to, you know, that's the thing. The Flash stuff got overstuffed with the Sage Force and all that other bollocks that bogged it down.
Yeah.
So
it's the same thing. Even to his Crisis and before the Infinite Frontier book. It's just so many ideas. Like he has ideas, and there's no filter. There's no editor going like, "Hey, let's narrow this down. Let's focus in on this thing." He's like, "No, I'm doing all of this, and I'm doing it all now, and it's all going in this issue."
Yeah, he's got all the ideas, but I would rather he spend time to make any one of those ideas matter. Just make it matter, make it feel like there's weight to it, and then he can move on to another idea.
Yeah.
That's all.
He tries to have his cake and eat it too a lot.
The difference between like this and like Ramby's Detective, which is so like slow and methodical on one thing, one idea that we've been dealing with for like 2 arcs now at least, and it's going to go further.
Yeah.
It's like it's so whereas this has like at least 4 different ideas in one issue.
And it's not a question of density. Detective Comics is also dense. It's also got a lot of characters. It's also got a lot of things going on, but they all feed in. They're all there to prop up the key themes that he's playing with. Whereas I read this and I'm like, what are the themes? I don't know what the themes are yet. Like, I know obviously we have family reconnecting and that will probably always be there, but like, what's the theme of the Green Arrow side of things, and how does that tie into the other characters? Like, I'm not convinced that it's going to, because just based on some of other Williamson's work.
Sadly, I'm more concerned about the fake Ollie in World's Finest. Like, what's he up to?
So, yeah. Honestly, it's exactly what I expect from Williamson at this point, which is just a really mixed bag with some fun ideas and some good pages. But
look, I'm still gonna finish this through 6 issues. Like, I gotta see where it goes, and I miss the Arrow characters, so here I am.
Yeah, but it's not like I'm over and burdened with books right now. So yeah, I'll keep reading. But
no, the week this gets pushed to a busier week, it might be I'll catch up later.
Yeah.
You know.
So, yeah, no, I mean we're on it for now, but like. This is not some triumphant issue 1 return by any means. I will say I did mostly like the art. Obviously, the layouts, arguably with the lettering, are a little bit problematic, but I do think the art generally, I liked how the characters looked. So
I agree. Unless for me, it was more the lettering placement than the art that was the problem.
All right, Matt, what are you rating it?
6.5.
Connor?
5.5.
I feel like I'm just being diplomatic by saying 6, but I was thinking 6, so 6 out of 10.
Split the poll.
So there you go. Unstoppable Doom Patrol issue 2. Up next. This is Dennis Culver writing with Chris Burnham on the art. So interesting issue. So Interest is a new character. Well, I think it's a new character. This sort of kid like meta who's got like a worm that has inside his stomach. Yeah, called Velvet. And
super creepy. Did not like that image of the worm being cased in the stomach.
It's very Doom Patrol weird.
It's very Doom Patrol. This issue is kind of 2 things. It's mostly, here's their base now that's underground, and a nice good look at that, and you've got Flex Mentallo in there, you got
they're definitely not the X-Men.
You got
definitely not.
The direct shot at the X-Men cover books in this actually made me laugh out loud, and is the funniest thing I've read in comics in like weeks.
Oh yeah, because Niles is trying to like gain control back because he's there as a consultant, and he goes to the chief, the chief character that's part of Jane's group, right?
And he hands her a paper.
Yes.
And it cuts to a page. I panicked. I panicked when I saw this page. It's got a symbol at the top. It's all this white page with black text with a symbol from the desk, and it's in the exact same formatting as the X books. And I was like, oh no, please don't tell me we're doing this in this mini.
Right.
And then the very next panel is, I'm not reading any more of your endless memos, Niles.
Yeah.
And I lost it.
Yeah, but the thing that it proposes is they split the team in two: Doom Patrol White and Doom Patrol Orange. And
oh my god!
It's just
so
poking fun at
funny.
X-Men
With the field team and yeah.
Yeah, but the other big thing this is doing is that this character Worm turns out, because obviously we teased that Suicide Squad led by
Peacemaker,
thank you, were on the case, like they were coming after Doom Patrol. Turns out that Worm was infiltrating on their behalf and doesn't like it because he's basically realized, wait, these are weirdos like me. This would actually be a good home for me. And it's a really sad ending because after he sends his worm Velvet to go and do some spying, when he tries to rebel, Peacemaker's like, well, we're going to blow up your head because you're rebelling. And the Doom Patrol say, oh, we're blocking the signal, but it won't keep for long. But we knew you'd infiltrated. If you told us sooner, we could have helped you better. And it has this really sad ending where the kid does die. Robot Man throws him into the sky for the head explosion.
Not just throws him, he fastball specials him into the sky.
That's true, yeah. So it doesn't hurt anyone else, but it's like, hey, take care of my worm Velvet. So this kid dies. Like, there's actually a shot of this kid flying through the air right before you see a white panel. It's okay,
because the next page it reveals he wasn't a real kid anyway.
Well, yeah, apparently this worm grows new people or something.
His constructs, yeah.
Yep, there's constructs in that. But then that tells me, was that the worm talking or is it the kid talking? Where's their...
Well, no, because Peacemaker says the constructs always grow a conscience.
Yeah, so
that's right.
so you're saying it doesn't matter, but it does kind of, because it did become sentient.
Well, okay, yeah, but...
it's still a living being in that sense.
Semantics.
Yes.
I cannot tell you how much more I enjoyed this than Green Arrow.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's so good.
For sure.
Not even close.
The new guy, what's his name? That the Lazarus Planet special was Degenerate.
Yeah.
Him saying that he's not going to do what they effing want and stuff. And Beast Girl's reaction to all of that. It's just fun comics.
The therapist who calls upon herself in 5 dimensions.
Terry. Oh yeah.
The dude in the think tank. I'm just into it.
Yeah.
So you guys are more versed in Doom Patrol. Was the think tank a thing before? Or is this something that Culver is setting up?
No, I think so, because this is Think Tank 2, right? So they rebuilt it.
Yeah, I can't tell you. I don't know the backstory of this, but it definitely feels like they're pulling on something from before.
Yeah, well, because I feel like a lot of these characters I saw people on Twitter talking about are based off of other Doom Patrol characters.
Oh, for sure. I mean, there's also a sad interlude here where Robot Man goes to visit Dorothy's grave, and I thought that was a really touching little interlude scene as well.
How does this work for someone who hasn't like Matt, who hasn't got a history with Doom Patrol? Does it still play?
You're assuming I didn't immediately look up who this character was.
Well,
before you looked it up, did it play as just, hey, this is Gina's Cliff going to visit the grave?
It was just somebody that was close to him that was no longer around that the rest of the team knew.
This is probably reading a modern X-Men book when it sort of starts fresh, where they still have to kind of respect and acknowledge the history that the
and then you have no
through.
idea what's going on 3 issues in anyway.
But no,
something about Krakoa.
The good X-Men ones do work though. The ones that I've enjoyed do work, even if there's still this history behind it.
When I first got back into comics, I was going to Barnes and Noble and buying up trades, and it was the new X-Men. They had just been decimated. The numbers were down, and I hopped onto this new team. Had no idea, but I know who Beast is and Colossus, of course, but it was about more the new kids and what they were going through, and it worked just as well. So Pete saying that it feels like that, that's kind of what it reminds me of that era, post-Destination.
It's so funny that every so often we get one of these books from DC that's so clearly hey, this is a Marvel book in disguise. Obviously we had the Terrifics.
Yeah.
This is definitely not a Fantastic Four book. Don't worry about it, guys.
Yeah,
but I like X-Men more than Fantastic Four, so in a way, this is
but Doom Patrol's always been the comp to X-Men, right? Even
for sure. Well,
this is really
in a more satirical sense. If anything, the actual comparison back in the day was New Teen Titans and X-Men were the two correlated books.
Right.
Whereas this is more we're kind of poking fun and satirizing X-Men.
And this is still doing that, like I say, with that page, with the formatting, and then being we're not doing that shit.
Because this is kind of we're X-Men, but we're weirder, we're creepier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've got
they're
ass
all more
monsters running around and shit like that.
Yeah.
Like, we've
the therapist that was pulling from the 5th dimension of the 5 different imps.
Yeah.
Oh, that page was a whoof.
Nightmare fuel.
So,
also, I want to say how much I'm loving the art. It's got like a heavy inks. It always kind of reminded me of. Obviously, it's not the exact same. It's not as cartoony, but it's giving me a slight Scotty Young kind of vibe. With
I can see that.
Let's see what we're going with.
Yeah. Especially with the new Beast Girl character. She looks very Scotty Young-esque.
It's very typical Burnham work here for me, which is not a bad thing. I think he's great when he's on the right book. They kept putting him on Batman books for a while, and I just do not think he suits
Didn't
it.
he just do the Tom Taylor the night? Not that night.
No,
that was
G. Domenico.
No. Oh, G. Domenico did that one. I was thinking the Globetrotting one. That was the Darcy one. Matt's talking about the Tom Taylor one, which was
oh, that was somebody else. That was Marquez, maybe? Was that Marquez? Kubert. Was it Kubert? Okay.
Oh, it was Kubert.
Yeah.
So
it definitely wasn't Burnham anyway.
No,
but I remember Burnham
past though, and
doing a Bat book that was weird. It was a weird fit. So.
Yeah, like they've tried him on a few Bat books, and I don't think it ever. Again, it's not that he's bad. It's not that. I just don't think his style just really hits that vibe. But putting him on something just a little bit off kilter, like Doom Patrol, oh yeah, perfect.
Well, because his Robot Man is very expressive, despite being Robot Man, right?
Yeah,
it's all body language, and it's all.
There's a lot of heart in them. There's a lot of heart in all the characters. Like, they're all very likable. Rita with Flex, and they're sort of snuggling up. Was very likable.
Is that something new too?
I don't think that's new. No, I think there's that because that 2-page layout where the worm's going through the vents and it kind of takes you around the different rooms. It sort of snakes around until it eventually gets to the think tank stuff. Like, that was a great page. Just seeing them all doing different things, and again, there's this kind of like sadness to Doom Patrol, but it's kind of hopeful because there are a bunch of weirdos who are making a place for themselves, who are finding a family. And that's very much the heart of Doom Patrol, and it kind of is in every version, whether it's the TV show, whether it's the Morrison run, they've all got that quality.
The one panel that got me was Trainer in his sleep thing.
Oh, him asleep, the spirit just doing like a yoga pose, and then the dog just in the bed.
Yeah. See if they want to turn this into an ongoing. If it does well, I'm more than for it, DC.
Yeah, really enjoy it for a concept that the last time I tried to read a Doom Patrol did not make it far.
Put Green Arrow back to 6 issues and give this the ongoing status.
I think this is more accessible.
Yeah.
Than the previous Doom Patrol book, yeah. Green
Arrow could turn into a good book after a dodgy first act, or even just a dodgy first issue. It's entirely possible, but this is already good 2 issues in. I've already enjoyed both of these issues a lot.
Also, the fact that this is the next issue is The Fast and the Nebulous.
That's funny.
Yes.
That's funny already, which means that the issue's going to be... It has to be a funny issue.
Which, you know, and as someone who just had to watch the first 5 Fast and the Furious movies, I appreciate it.
It's fine, because you've got 5 more to watch.
Yeah, but not for 2 years, because we're doing the rest when the 11th movie's coming out. Which, by the way, all right, since we're on this topic, right? The naming of that franchise.
Why did you do this, Connor?
I'm sorry that it was in the book.
The naming of that franchise, where it's one of the worst series of names ever. It was already terrible, and the capper and it all, right? So this is what it's been so far: The Fast and the Furious, Too Fast, Too Furious, The Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift, Fast and Furious, Fast 5, Fast and Furious 6, Furious 7, The Fate of the Furious, F9, Fast X. The capper to all this is that the 11th movie is not Fast 11 or Fast and Furious 11 or anything. No, the last one is going to be called Fast X Part 2.
I really wish they would have done the Part 2.
I'm telling you, they're taking inspiration from anime. I filled Pete in on this recently, that there's a horrible trend of anime season titling. The kappa is Attack on Titan, which is, I mean, even a passing familiarity in anime is like, oh no, it's one of the most popular in the world right now. So that had it had season 1. Okay, fine. It had season 2. And then it was, I don't know if it was season 3 or season 4 where they did it, but it was like, they didn't call it season 3. It was Attack on Titan, the final season. Then it turns out they wanted to do more, so they went Attack on Titan, the final season, part 2. And then it turns out they wanted to do more. The Attack on Titan, the final season, part 3, part 1.
Oh my god.
Yeah. It's just like, wait, is this not over yet? There's more parts every time.
I mean, Fate of the Furious, bringing it back to those movies, is the most egregious. Because I know what they did with the Fate, with the F and the 8, but there's actually no 8 in that title.
That would have been fine if it was the final movie.
Yeah, right, but it wasn't. And then they came back with F9, which sounds like you're saying screw that movie, F9. You know,
Yeah.
so you know, and I say this as someone that I do love most of those movies.
They're awful movies, and I love them.
Yeah, I got the trailer last week for Fast 10, and I was like, okay.
Look, I'd never seen the fifth one before. The fifth one was easily the best of the 5.
Which one's the 5th one?
That's 5. That's the
Rio.
one.
Yeah, no. But which one happens in that?
Heist.
Oh, okay.
That's the heist. It's the heist with the vault. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
And it's him yelling, "This is Rio."
But I'll tell you this though.
Yeah.
1 and 3 are garbage. Like they are such trash.
Yeah.
Like they are like
Point Break with cars, and then
the third one's even more Point Break though, because there's scenes where they go, it's all about drifting. I live to drift around those cars. Like when you're in a drift, it's like they're talking about surfing. You know, when they're talking about being on the waves and they feel the weightlessness and all that shit.
Yeah.
That's what they're talking about with drifting. It is laughably bad, and they somehow found an actor who was worse than Paul Walker to be the lead in that movie. It's baffling.
So let me just tell you, my gym has a cardio gym where they have a movie playing on a big screen. You can go in there and do cardio. I've never seen it more full than the other day when they were playing Tokyo Drift. Now, I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's just maybe all the other machines were taken and people found themselves in there during Tokyo Drift, or for some reason
Tokyo Drift's on, and it appeals to gym bros.
They have horrible tastes.
Yes.
So anyway, if you want my more embellished thoughts in the Fast and the Furious movies,
I'm glad you feel that Fast 5 is the best one, because that is my favorite.
I kind of want to watch them all now.
Out of those 5, I've not seen.
Which is the one that ends on the chase on the big bridge? Is that 5 or is that 6?
That's not.
That's 5. Well, 5 ends. 5 does end at a bridge.
They're pulling the vault.
Yeah. Okay, that one is fun. Yeah.
6 I think involves jets and stuff going through.
Oh yeah, that one. Okay.
I think that's the super long runway, or is that 7? I get those two confused.
I've seen up to like 7 or 8.
Yeah, just wait for the forever runway, Pete. You'll be cackling.
The spin-off as well, Pete.
Hobbs and
Eventually,
Shaw.
yeah, we get to but we just did the first 5 for this one coming out.
Yes.
We'll do the rest up until the new one. When
He hasn't even
out.
met Shaw yet.
Oh man.
So yeah, that was on
most
yesterday.
Guy Ritchie character in a non-Guy Ritchie movie.
Yes, that one was on yesterday, and it was the part where they go to Samoa and they meet all of his cousins. So
again, not a good movie. It's a fun superhero movie.
It has Idris Elba yelling, "I'm Black Superman." So yes.
Anyway, what are you rating Doom Patrol?
8.5.
Unstoppable Doom Patrol issue 2, I should say. 8.5. All right, Connor.
Also going to go with the 8.5. A lot of fun.
I think 8.5 is the perfect score. It's laying a lot of groundwork. I'm loving the characters. I'm enjoying the art.
Also, before we went on that tangent, I wanted to say stuff about Jane, where she's talking to herself in the mirror about people getting to be in control. So I like that there's more going on with her.
Yeah,
too.
Basically Jane's unhappy that this chief character's at the surface.
Yeah, and all the other personalities seem to agree with Jane, right? So we'll see where that goes. But yeah.
No, that's good stuff. All right, Blue Beetle Graduation Day issue 6. Josh Trujillo and Adrian Gutierrez on the art. So, Matt, you read this. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so this is the final issue, and Jaime and his Scarab have made up now. And what everyone thought was a Reach invasion is the Horizon. What now looks like they're coming in for an invasion. So Jaime has to talk with the Justice League in order for them to just trust me. I know that my Beetle was going haywire, but I got this, but I'm going to need your guys' help. So Jaime flies up into space and helps stop this gigantic ship from making landing on Earth. And the other Beetles start going around with the heroes and trying to keep Palmyra City intact.
John Lennon, Paul McCartney.
Yes, those Beatles, but no, the green.
I wasn't paying attention. Then I just heard the other Beatles. I was like,
yes. Right. So the basically the Horizon Beatles, right? You have Natita and I can't remember the other one, but it was the first one that he fought, right? And so they're going around, and like one of them bonds with the Flash, and the other one bonds with Black Condor, and they finally the ship lands and the Horizon come out, but not before Jaime basically expends all of his energy. The Beetle or his Scarab warns him, like, we have no energy left. This is crazy. You're not going to make it. He pushes through anyways, and then that Superman catches him, and that's when the ship lands. By the way, the other one is not Paul McCartney. It's Dynasties and Natita, just for the record. And so
I don't think anyone was considering that was a serious.
I cared though. And so when the Horizon land, they realize that Jaime realizes that they're not conquerors. They're refugees, and they're coming to Earth because they've heard of all the other heroes. But they said that they can't stay here because the Blue Beetle still exists because he's a Reach agent. And even though the other two, Dynastis and Natita, vouch for him, the Horizon aren't going to, believe. So he goes to talk to him, and, he gets Superman's vouching, and, their leader is named Ood, O-O-D. And
not
sees...
to be confused, I assume, with the species of alien in Doctor Who, the Ood.
Maybe that's where they're inspired from. His name is Ood Abar, and he's the shepherd of the Horizon. But he sees the House of El on Clark, and goes, "Oh yeah, we heard of you. You helped repel the Reach invasion." And Superman's like, "Yeah, but I did it with his help. He's actually a good guy." And so Jaime, this is what cracks me up here. Palmyra City is the city he just moved to for summer to work with his aunt, right? Yet he invites the Horizon to stay there now, right? And Superman's, he looks at him proudly and is like, "Yeah, I think we can work on this." And Starfire is like, "Well, who's going to guide them? Who's going to this is going to be a lot of work." And this is where Ted's sister Victoria comes down out of the bug and is like, "Look, we're already set up here in Palmyra City. I think we can make this work, even though, Blue Beetle stole from me, helped to lead into a break-in." And yeah, so it ends up with Superman talking with Jaime that, you are a hero no matter what. Stop self-doubting. You have everyone here to back you up. So the issue ends with Jaime and Starfire, taking a call to go meet up with all the other people on a roof because they're celebrating, celebrating the Horizon getting established there. And it ends with them taking a big group picture, and that now, this is his graduation. He finally found his purpose, and that's to help them get settled. And it's all super nice. And it's a real, again, I feel like the whole graduation day gimmick kind of got overplayed a little, but it is a nice sentiment here at the end that Jaime finally found his purpose, that he's not just going to live in Ted's shadow as the alien Blue Beetle. He has his own group of people now. He has mentors in like Starfire and Superman, and to go along with Ted. Also shocked that Victoria didn't end up being the villain, because she kind of had some sinister vibes throughout. So when she comes down from the bug, it was kind of surprising. But there's a post-credit scene, and I don't know, Pete, if you remember the thief character from 2 issues ago that got Jaime to break into Cord Industries. I forget his name. We find out what he stole, and this is where the lack of knowledge is going to come up. Is some lady, some redhead, comes up out of the bag that he stole, and says that she's gimmicks. To which the magician person is like, "Oh, I thought you were supposed to be dead." And as the next panel reveals, like a demonic like shadow standing over, because he goes, "Good, you have powers, because we're all in big effing trouble." To be continued in the Blue Beetle Scare Board #1. So no idea who this gimmicks character is, why she was locked away in Cord. Didn't have time to look it up. But yeah, very, very entertaining story. Hopefully it pairs well with the movie, because I know the movie is set in Palmyra City, so it does feel like this was meant to come out, have a little bit of synergy with it, especially the inclusion of Victoria Cord. So yeah, art's still really well. The action sequences are well handled, seeing the heroes go through the city. Jaime basically sacrificing himself to bring the ship in. I'll really good. I'll give this a 7.5.
Okay, cool. So that takes out the part of the show. Every month on patreon.com/MailFuzzTV, you can make myself or Connor read a book at one of the higher tiers, and Connor is going to go 2 books. First up is Tim Drake Robin issue 7, unless he already did that one, in which case it's issue 8. Did you figure it out, Connor?
It's issue 7.
It's issue 7, okay. You almost skipped one.
I did almost skip one, but I didn't. So it's fine.
Okay.
Wouldn't do that, would I? Never.
Mind you, this was after last week him telling us he's up to date, and that was a lie. So
I figured out why I thought that.
Yeah.
It's because I looked on DC Infinite, and I was up to date on there.
Oh.
Which is actually a month behind, obviously.
Right.
So, yeah. Yeah, that's where that confusion came from. First things first, it is not Rosmo on art. It is Sergio Cunha. Which
it was going to be a hasty message from David, and the next day he said, "Oh, it's not Rosmo anymore. He's shifting. He's shifting to a different book."
Too late. I've read this one now. Tough shit, David. You get what you get. It's fine. I still hate it.
Okay, then.
Well, hang on. Let me clarify. Do not hate the art. Sergio Cunha is actually really great. He makes everyone look like an anime character, which is kind of weird. Not like it's a specific kind of anime style. Like it's with the kind of like the sharp angle on the noses, stuff like that. Really, really sharp jaw lines. I'll hate it though. I quite like the way it looks. I think it's a really dramatic shift for this book. The characters are very expressive. They look great. It's so drastic going from Rosmo, the most rounded of artists, right? If you think Rosmo, you think big round heads, big chins that are really round. And this is sharp angles everywhere and significantly more to my taste. However, I still don't like the writing, so it's kind of irrelevant. This issue is actually not really an issue of Robin. It's Bernard's issue. It's all his narration. It's his point of view. The whole deal is they're going out for dinner, and it's got a relatively smart structural thing where the issue is broken up into the different stages of the night, while also correlating to the different stages of a meal. So it's like the first thing you see is a big text that says aperitif, and then it has a little definition noun, breaks down what an aperitif is, but then obviously that it relates to the introduction of the issue, and then you have the entree, which again is something that Americans do differently to the rest of the world, because to Americans the entree is the starter essentially. To the rest of the world,
appetizers, right? So an entree comes that's your main meal.
Yeah, the entree is the main course.
Yeah, but they have a different thing for this. It is the in this is the Platt principle, which is the main course.
It sounds like the menu and it's making me mad.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And they had the next section is the salad, and I quote, necessary for any menu, sometimes after the main course to help with digestion, which is different, of course, to the digestif, which is not to help with digestion. because why would it be?
Oh boy.
Yeah. And then there's dessert, obviously. Yeah.
To be fair, I used to think entree sounded like more like a starter, just the word.
It does, but I forget the exact term why it's called that still. But yeah.
Because it's not really, I don't think it's used
main.
as much in the UK. It's definitely something that Americans use more in their menus. Obviously, it's not an American word. I'm not saying that, but
no, but yeah, it does reek of something that was on a French menu one time, and every other restaurant started to take it. So
yeah, but yeah, it is the starter. I'm sure in France.
Is it the starter in France?
I'm sure it's the entree, the entrance.
Yeah,
it's the beginning of the meal.
If anything, an entree also sounds kind of like platter to me because it sounds like a tray of things. Here, have a like a selection.
It's on a tray.
It's on a tray. It's the entree.
Yeah, no, I'm sure it is for starters.
It probably is.
Yeah, I'm sure we use it interchangeably with appetizer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But on an American menu, entree means the main course.
Yeah, because it's wedged between, the appetizer and the dessert, making it. Yeah, but still, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I think that's Americans doing it wrong.
Of course. Yeah, because entree means introductory.
Yes, entrance.
So,
that's, I assume where entrance comes from in terms of.
Right. I know. I'm just as I'm reading it, how it ended up that way. So
Americans bastardized it like they did everything else with the language.
Well, we are the bastard country, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. You keep talking. I'm going to read this article and we'll figure it out.
Yeah, I'm going to order some food because this has made me hungry.
Yeah, sorry. I actually think it's a really smart structure for the issue to kind of have it broken down like this. But ultimately, I just don't think the issue's that entertaining. So they go to dinner, they go to this fancy meal.
Are we on Robin still? Is this what we're on?
Yeah.
Okay. So why are we talking about entrees and starters? I don't even know what we're talking about.
Yeah, they're going for this fancy meal that they've got into because Bruce knows people, obviously, and Tim's kind of a Wayne. But it turns out, by coincidence, Bernard's parents are also there, and he's not spoken to them in like a year properly. I don't know if he's not spoken to them or he's just not like gone out with them anywhere, like not had time with them. But yeah, they're not on speaking terms. And before this, Bernard's like, "Are you sure we should go? Kind of Firefly's on the loose. He's been attacking places lately. This sounds dangerous." And lo and behold, Firefly attacks. He's also working with someone else that causes people to kind of spot out their phobias as if they were real, which leads to Bernard's dad shouting at him that it would be better if he'd never been born in this very dramatic moment while the restaurant is on fire. So yeah, it's a lot of like this family drama for him. And it's fine. I'm not saying that he shouldn't have development. He's obviously an important side character in this book. But this is the entire issue is just him and his parents, and it's just not that interesting at the end of the day. The most interesting, the most important part of the issue is the end, where it turns out through his inner narration that we learn that he knows that Tim's Robin. He's just waiting for Tim to tell him. I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to wait for him to feel comfortable with telling me. But he's figured it out because, yes, Tim's not that good at keeping the secrets, which is not that surprising.
Hashtag worst Robin.
Look, he's not out there whipping his cowl off for everyone, but
oh, like Barry, you mean?
Yeah, just like Barry.
I'm just saying he's the one Robin who hasn't died.
Actually, on Flash, there was a story this week that said Grant Gustin will not have a cameo in the Flash movie, and I'm like, shrug, who cares?
Because there was no time. There was no time to have him in the movie. Is what they claimed.
And secondly, James Gunn keeps getting asked, will Ezra Miller stick around as the Flash? And his response was basically, well, we'll see what happens. It basically said, like, definitely not, but I can't say that before the movie comes out.
I disagree. The answer is above his pay grade. Even as high as he is, the answer is above his pay grade, and the answer is depends on if the Flash makes money or not.
I actually don't think it does. I think it's so risky keeping Ezra around to like sort of spearhead and be the head of a franchise that I think that even if it does well, they'll still just move it. They just don't want to rule it out before the movie comes out, so people won't write off the movie. As being something that's worth let's go see.
It's possible, yeah.
That's how I'm. Well, that's been my guess right now. But
People
I mean, you could be right.
See this movie though.
It's
not a real movie.
It's not. And did you see what they did? There was a clip that came out where Michael Keaton's like, "Let's get nuts," and I'm like, "Is that a catchphrase now?" Because he said it once in the goddamn Batman.
It's a meme. It's a meme.
Yeah,
and
one of the funnier memes I've seen out of that was that of him saying "Let's get nuts" and then a bunch of old guys getting hyped. And it was so funny.
I hate this. Just make the nostalgic reference, and that's all you need to do. It's just a movie of nostalgic references with those actual story. Piss it off. Anyway, continue your country.
I'm pretty much done. It's okay. Like it's probably a least offensive issue, partially because no Rosmo, partially because it's not doing anything horrific with Tim's character. It's just the two of them out on a date, and then Bernard's family drama, which is just not that interesting. The family drama that is, it's just not that interesting to me. Okay. But yeah, it's not the worst issue. It's still like a 5 probably, and I'm being generous with the art, bringing it up because the art is nice, even if it's very anime expressive and a drastic shift from what the book was before. It's vastly more to my tastes. Yeah, 5.
Okay. Then the other Patreon book you did was Undiscovered Country, issue 24.
I did. It's finally the end of this arc, which I'm kind of glad for. Not that I disliked this issue, but this arc has been kind of really all over the place. It does come together, but not super satisfyingly, not as much as other arcs. You do get Graves and Charlotte get to the timeline where the others are, and it picks up right where we were last time, where Ace was in the big giant mech buzz, kind of taking him out, and he just straight up murders old Janet and Chang, the old versions of them, and the young one's like, "Why'd you do that? You just killed them." And he was like, "Well, yeah, they were about to tell you why you murdered me in the first place, so why would I let them do that? Because then you might murder me." It's like self-defense. And they kind of shrug it off and go, I guess so. Old Chang, as he's like dying, does give young Chang like I think it's like a phone or a note or something. I think it's a phone with the light on it, which I assume is going to come back up, and they'll have maybe what the reason was on it, what that caused this in the first place. So I think it will still come up later in the series, which I'm glad about because I was interested in what that reveal would have been. But it does make sense that it wasn't shown here. And yeah, it's basically like, okay, well, we're all together again now. Job's a good one. Let's move on. None of this was real anyway. And that's the old version of Val who gave Ace the mech, kind of shows up as a hologram. It's like, yeah, look, let him go to Pavel. And like, look, just let him go. This was the whole thing. None of us are real. Only they matter. Because this is all. It's this machine that's recreated all of history, and it was like to see, if we change things, what would have gone differently? What can we change? So this is just essentially one possible future. It's all a simulation. None of it matters. And some of them are kind of self-aware inside that simulation that none of it matters. And they're like, yeah, we could live here, and reality is only what we make it, and we could rule this empire. But also, yeah, there's an actual reality out there, and we could maybe do better. So they do let them go, and they go to their next zone, and maybe the final zone, because they talk about it being near the center of the spiral, which is a zone bounty, which is where they grow all the crops for America, essentially. I'm really intrigued to see what they do to kind of make it like, okay, what did they do to make it seem crazy and like, oh no, this is what we've got to experiment with to feed all of America. We do see the corn that it's growing is like giant. It's like oak tree sized corn stalks, which is a wild visual. But the big twist at the end is they seem to get a message from the outside world, from the Pacific Fleet. Well, again, assuming that this is as it appears, that is a drastic shift, and it's interesting that it's as they've gotten into the center that these communications have been working, as opposed to when they were on the outside where there was nothing. Which means either things are going weird. We know there was possibly some time dilation anyway inside America versus the outside. So maybe technology's changed out there pretty drastically. Maybe things have shifted, or maybe it is just okay. They're closer to the outside by being in the center because that's the way out. Or again, third possibility is it's not real, and we'll see. But that'll be the next arc, which I am looking forward to. I think this was definitely my least favorite arc of the book. Again, it wasn't terrible. It just felt like it lacked focus. But it lacked really like nailing what its theme was. Like the one before with the story world and everything kind of playing off that had such focus of what it was doing with its themes, with how that played off for all the characters. This here was, well, we could look at some different timelines. We put some in history, some in a future. We'll see how things work out. And I like the idea. I don't think only it quite landed ultimately, but yeah, the issue is still like a 7, I think, because it kind of it's still good. It just isn't as satisfying an end of the arc as the others have been. But I'm looking forward to what comes next.
Okay, well there you go. Update: I did order some Japanese food, so just keep everyone posted on the progress.
I'm gonna cook some pasta one day. I'm gonna do fried rice.
The reason that we call it an entree over here is because of cooking methods, right? So that used to be in all the cookbooks. The rules changed, and what basically was the main course kind of shifted to an entree when stuff got to North America. Books being what they were, so they just worked with what they have, and that's why it's called. The main course here is called an entree.
So Americans bastardized it.
Exactly. Connor was spot on. I hate to say that.
To serve man. Okay. Highlight his own reference for anyone who gets it.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll take us out the part of the show where we pick our favourite stuff of the week, favourite panel / moment, favourite cover, favourite art, and top 5 books, or however many, if it's less than that. So, Matt, what was your panel / moment of the week?
I did like the hug from Green Arrow. Action had some cool stuff. Doom Patrol, that was kind of icky with the worm. I'll go with Vandal Savage showing up and tearing that stone out of the old lady's head. That was pretty metal.
Oh yeah.
I hate that.
Oh dear. Cara, what was your moment?
It has to be the shot at the Krakoa X-Men with the I'm not reading any more of your endless memos after the info dump page.
That is fair. I think I'm probably also gonna go Doom Patrol. I'm thinking maybe that 2-page layout with the worm going around the base and the vents, and we get to see all the different places. It did a good job of just further cementing the vibe of what this building is and all the different.
It's fun how it had two-page spreads of the building layout in that issue.
Yeah. Yeah. The other one was more just kind of like, here's a map of where all the places are.
Right at the start, and then this was more in depth following the characters.
So, good. All right. Cover of the week. Not a ton of books to pick from, obviously, but I really like the regular Doom Patrol cover. I also like the variant by Jorge Molina.
It's a nice one, yeah.
With the jacket on it. I'll probably just go with the regular action, though. I've been really liking these Steve Beach action covers recently.
That's very nice. The fist coming up through the metallo stuff.
Yeah, really simple. Just a bit of a green glow on the arm. Matt, what's your cover?
I also like the Doom Patrol variant. I don't know who it was though, but it's just of Negative Man wrapped around. I guess it was a glow in the dark variant. Huh?
Jeff Spokes.
Okay, that one was pretty cool. But mine's gonna be from Action, but it's not the main cover. It is the where'd it go? There it is. It's the Talaski Super Workout connecting
Matt
covers.
Can't see the covers a lot of the time in the solicits. This is him picking one of the ones that's missing. He can't see it, but he's taking a hunch.
It's because I clicked on it and it disappeared. So it wasn't that one. I just hovered over the wrong thing. It is the Rafa Sandoval. It's Superman with the hammer. So,
all right. Connor?
Shout out to the Frank Cho variant on Green Arrow. It's just a traditional Frank Cho cover, but it's quite nice. but I am going with the Doom Patrol variant, the Molina one. I just think it's just a cool image, isn't it?
Okay, cool. All right, art of the week, Connor.
Oh, it's tough because I think for the most part I'd want to give it to Detective, but it's there's like 3 artists. It's a little bit inconsistent. Again, the 2 bookends being different artists, they're far enough apart from like the main chunk of the story that you don't really feel it as much, but it was a little bit jarring still. So I'll probably just give it to Doom Patrol because Burnham's doing some great work over there.
Yeah. Is there anything else I'd like to pick? Nah, I don't think so. I think it's going to be Doom Patrol. Matt?
It's a clean sweep. Mine's Doom Patrol.
All right. Well, in that case, Matt, hit us with your rankings.
All right. Number 1 is going to be Tech. Number 2 is going to be Doom Patrol. 3 is going to be Action. 4 is going to be Blue Beetle. And 5 is Green Arrow.
All right, Connor?
Despite having art and panel to Doom Patrol, I'm still going to put my first issue is Tech and Doom Patrol at 2. But it's pretty tight.
Okay.
After that, I guess, is Action and then Green Arrow, because by default, Green Arrow has to be there, but it's stone dead last.
Yeah, I'm going with Doom Patrol in first place. Second place. Yeah, Detective, then Action, then Green Arrow's last, obviously. So there you go. I'll tell you what's coming next week from DC Comics. We have Batman 125. We've got
135.
Sorry, 135. Quite right. We got the Flash 798. We have Poison Ivy issue 12. We have Batman the Joker, the Deadly Duo issue 7. We have Adventures of Superman John Kent issue 3. We have Shazam issue 1, the new Mark Waid book, so that should be fun to check out. We got some free comic book day stuff. We got free comic book day Donna DC Night Terrors issue 1. So
is that an actual necessary thing, or is it just going to be like?
I think there's at least part of it technically, but it should be free online, like on the digital side. But we'll see.
Yeah.
We got the Joker, the Man Who Stopped Laughing issue 8. Peacemaker Tries Hard issue 1. Still a funny title. We got Batman the Audio Adventures issue 6, Dawn of DC We Are Legends Special Edition issue 1, and then we have Free Comic Book Day 2023 Clark and Lex and Fan Club Batman Squad issue 1. So that's just a tease for those graphic novels, I think. Those young adult graphic novels.
Yeah, the We Are Legends as well is just Free Comic Book Day stuff, I think, as well. That's teasing the 3 new books, the Trujillo, City Boy, and
Spirit World. I think those are all the ones that were in the Lazarus Planet.
On those one shots, okay, so those are all reprints. Okay, fair enough.
I believe so. And then the other Free Comic Book Day one, the Night Terrors, is all new original story plus sneak peeks.
Yeah, so that one's more related and worth doing then.
Chris Pichello on art. Weird.
Okay. Well, there you go.
I don't remember the last time I saw him on a DC book.
Yeah, but Shazam, I'm excited.
Maybe that'll do things. That'll wrap up the show. Thank you for joining us, of course. Let us know what you thought of this week's books in the comments. Like, subscribe. If you want to support all the content, you can do it over at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV and get yourself maybe some early access to the show, things like that. But that'll do it. So thank you for joining us once again. Keep reading DC Comics, and remember to never get lost in the Speed Force.